£169 deposit, then £169 a month with 0% APR representative. Just go. iGo.
0% APR representative on new sales on iGo XPlay over 48 months. £169 per month. Customer deposit of £169 when proposed and approved via Access Toyota by 31st of March 2020. £3,311.25p optional final payment. Subject status to over 18s. Indemnities may be required. Conditions apply. Toyota Financial Services.
Go courtside with the NBA on TuneIn. With the NBA on TuneIn, hear your favorite team and players take on their biggest rivals during the biggest games throughout the year, including regular season showdowns, the 2020 All-Star Game, and the NBA Finals in June, featuring the home and away calls for all 30 teams. Plus, with the NBA on demand, relive the best moments of the season by listening to the past games in their entirety. Listen to the NBA all season long on TuneIn.
That shows how a small
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Take control. Start today. Barclaycard. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right? Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long. Search NFL today.
Search BETR and start hanging out with me and my guys
for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more.
You might already know that TuneIn
catch your favorite show as it airs. It might just be a click away as a podcast.
Did you know TuneIn is
Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
World, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Baseball games.
This is Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeten.
Is there any bank right now in the U.S. that you think is a buy?
Do you think Chairman Powell has lost the market?
Jeff Bezos is no dope. What's the big ka-ching?
The big question, I think, for investors is free cash flow.
Breaking market news and insight from Bloomberg experts.
The U.S. tariffs actually hurt both China and the U.S.
Large strategics are looking to either buy or invest in innovation.
Soybeans and corn have been basically at or below the cost of production for about 4 or 5 years.
What we see more bonds, more yields. This is Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeten on Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Dueling narratives for today's news cycle. We've got Davos and a number of luminaries coming out discussing in particular climate change, global warming, and how they plan to attack it or what they would like to be seeing. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., the impeachment hearings gear up in the Senate. We'll be covering both stories. Right now, though, let's head over to John Tucker for a Bloomberg Business Flash. John.
Hey, Lisa, looks like risk off for now in the early going. All three main U.S. gauges sliding at the open. You have the financial shares. They're among the worst performers. You had declines in Asia and Europe. Of course, you have those reports that there's this respiratory virus that is spreading in China. Shares in Hong Kong hardest hit. Now, the luxury stocks suffering on the worries that the virus may disrupt spending during a key Chinese holiday period. Also, the banks taking on the chin. Also, this comes after UBS missed profitability targets. Here in the U.S., Matt Maley, equity strategist at Miller Tabak, says the direction of U.S. stocks all depends on liquidity and the Federal Reserve.
I do not believe, like some people, that the Fed will just going to continue to provide liquidity endlessly for the market to go forever. When they do step back, it's going to hurt the market.
Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average 32 points lower. That's a decline of 0.1%. We're at 29,315. The S&P 500 6 points lower. That's down 0.2% at 3322. The Nasdaq Composite Index is 8 points lower at 9381. Some of the havens are gaining. The Japanese yen right now 110.03. That's up about 0.1% against the greenback. And also traditional haven there, the 10-year yield, that's at 178. The price is up by 10-30 seconds right now. But on the other hand, gold is lower, down $8.90 90 cents at 15.51. And we check the markets for you every 15 minutes during the trading day right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker. That is your Bloomberg Business Flash. Lisa and Paul.
John Tucker, thank you so much. Market Drivers is brought to you by Commonwealth Financial Network. For the sixth straight time, J.D. Power ranks Commonwealth number one in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms. Visit commonwealth.com to learn more. Little bit of red on the screen, not much, just down about 0.1% on the equity indices for the U.S. Let's see where the action is underneath the surface. We go to Bloomberg Stocks editor Dave Wilson. Dave, what are you looking at right now?
Well, I mean, the travel stocks, you can really start there. I mean, you look at the biggest declines in the S&P 500, you see Wynn Resorts and Las Vegas Sands. You know, two companies that control Macau casinos. Of course, that's the Chinese city. You've got the holiday coming up, the Lunar New Year, and now you have this outbreak of a respiratory ailment. And so, you know, some speculation that maybe it won't be such a great holiday for them. And you're seeing declines among a number of travel-related stocks, whether you're talking about airlines or cruise lines or even online travel sites.
Has anybody framed out how big a deal this virus issue is here? Because it seems like the numbers are small, but I guess it's the fear that it's one of these.
Right, and people think back to the early 2000s when you had, you know, SARS become an issue, you know, for that region in Asia and you know, certainly for the travel industry more broadly. So that's part of the mix as well. It's sort of reflexive, you could argue.
Well, and I want to bring this tweet from Hugh Jijin, who is the Global Times editor in China, often thought of as a mouthpiece for Beijing, coming out and saying coronavirus cases have been found in other places out of Wuhan, Hubei province, indicating the epidemic is expanding. We know this. Concerns are mounting. It is inevitable that people will cut their trips during Spring Festival and holiday consumption will be hit. I find this really interesting. It's almost a concession from a state mouthpiece that this will potentially hurt the economy in a broader sense. I think that that's notable, but do we have a sense of the actual nuts and bolts of what could potentially be the fallout from this?
Well, I mean, not a great sense, and that may explain as much as anything why you're seeing these kind of broad-based declines. There's a concern out there, you know, that has to be quantified. It is being quantified as we speak in a whole lot of stocks. So, you know, that we know for sure. You know, when you see a Carnival down 2%, a Booking Holdings down 2.5%, you know, United Airlines down 2.5%. You're definitely seeing that right in front of you now. To the extent that we know, you know, where this virus is headed and what effect there may be. I mean, it's a lot of speculation at this point. You know, that said, I mean, you know, people kind of fall back on previous experience to suggest that it isn't going to be good.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you let off, Dave, with the gaming stocks, Wynn and Las Vegas Sands down about 5 to 6% here. I think what I understand about the Macau market is a lot of the VIP traffic, the heavy gamblers, come from the mainland. So if they're not coming during this holiday period, boy, that's a problem for those companies.
It absolutely is, and you can throw MGM Resorts in the mix while you're at it. That stock's down about 3.5%. And there's another one I want to check out, Melco Resorts, which trades here in the U.S., and it's really taken a hit, down about 8.5%. The ticker there, MLCO.
Yeah, just to be clear, this does seem to be a lot less fatal than the SARS epidemic and a lot less fatal than some other viruses. The concern here is people are wondering how widespread this is, how easily it's spread from one person to another. Or there's a potential for it to mutate. So we will keep you posted on that. In the meantime, I think that it's really interesting to see the battle over Tesla. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal about how it's basically a gunfight between the bulls and the bears, and you don't want to get involved. But it was interesting. I mean, it's the most shorted stock out there. And meanwhile, today, the biggest bull on the street said the Tesla shares may reach $960 in early next year.
Right, and set a 12-month estimate of $800. And just to put that in perspective, you've got Tesla at $543 and change. So it's a long way up to what New Street Research analyst Pierre Ferragu is talking about. So, you know, and our coverage pointing out that he's anticipating the possibility of 2 million to 3 million cars per year being sold at Tesla after 2025. and profit margins, which would be the highest in the industry. So, you put that all together. So the outlier in terms of where Tesla's market value may be headed, $350 billion.
Wow, the stock's up 80% over the trailing 12 months and it hit a low, recent low of $178 back in June. So it's had an incredible run from $178 to $544 here. Earnings, Dave, another week coming up. What are the big things that you're going to be looking out for this week?
Well, it's not going to be all that busy yet. We really don't get sort of the tidal wave of earnings until next week. But, just consider today you've got Netflix after the close of trading to look at. You've got United, which may be particularly interesting in light of what's happening with this virus in China. And IBM's out after the close as well. So, put that all together. You look further into the week. You see Johnson & Johnson, you see Travelers, which is in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. You've got Intel as a possibility, Procter & Gamble, Union Pacific for railroads, and American Express. So there are a lot of companies that will get people's attention as the week goes on here.
Exactly. That'll be interesting to see. But, okay, Netflix after the close tonight.
I know you'd be interested in that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have any commentary about it. It's too early to tell, but, there's the competitive landscape certainly changing. It'd be interesting to see, kind of how they're going to position themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Disney Plus is out there and certainly attracting a whole lot of subscribers. And then you've got Comcast with Peacock, the NBC Universal Network, already being sort of promoted in advance of its debut.
There's also this question about whether we're seeing a content bubble. I mean, the amount that they're paying for some of these shows as they burn through billions of dollars every year. It's just shocking. I wonder at what point do they actually start to figure out whether that
pays off. Have all the companies that we talked about already, but you also have Apple in the mix.
Yes.
What company?
Apple.
I think I heard
that iPhone maker.
The big checkbook. Bloomberg Stocks editor Dave Wilson, thank you so much. Looking at the market here, again, a little bit of red on the screen here. S&P down 7, the Dow Jones Industrial down 40, 29,304 on the Dow Jones. Now let's head down to our 99.1 studios in Washington, D.C. for World and National Headlines. Nathan Hager. Nathan.
Paul, the impeachment trial of President Trump gets underway in the Senate in just a few hours. This first day is dominated by debate over the rules. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is calling for 24 hours of arguments per side, spread over just 2 days apiece. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer rules that McConnell
and in the meantime, do we just have to believe them that they did what they said they were going to do?
With as little evidence as possible and done in the dark of night. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Schumer says Democrats will force votes to allow witnesses and documents. Meantime, House impeachment managers say the lawyer who's leading the president's defense is himself a fact witness who should turn over his own evidence. In a letter, the House Democrats say White House counsel Pat Cipollone witnessed critical events related to President Trump's conduct toward Ukraine. They say his involvement in the trial may raise ethical questions. President Trump, of course, is touting the U.S. economy at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, saying America is winning like never before.
Just last week alone, the United States concluded 2 extraordinary trade deals. The agreement with China and the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, the 2 biggest trade deals ever made.
The president just wrapped up talks with the new president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, saying they discussed trade and global concerns. The Supreme Court has declined to take a case stemming from the 2014 water crisis in Flint, Michigan. About 25,000 people have sued over the crisis in which a change in the source of the city's water led to lead contamination. Justices turned away a lawsuit against city and water regulators. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is Bloomberg.
In the real world, there are no rabbits in hats, crystal balls, or cards that turn into money. Instead, you get business information from top-tier analysts and experts.
What should expectations be for this latest round of negotiations?
That's actually better, isn't it?
They're both trying to say they have the upper hand.
Bloomberg Markets with Paul Sweeney and Lisa Abramowitz. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The Bloomberg Business of Sports podcast.
How did the Yankees become this mega valuable team?
Where the money is flowing inside sports around the globe.
From the marketing perspective, where are the dollars spent?
From union heads to team owners, Scott Soshnick and Michael Barr speak to the names that power this multi-billion-dollar industry.
Boston Red Sox CEO Sam Kennedy.
National Hockey League Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Bloomberg Business of Sports. Listen today on Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
We'll be right back on
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Used to be a little cranky.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy.
A gym built
But he's a
around
part
you.
of me.
You get
Like my
regular
arms and
health
legs, so
therapies
I'll
to
be
create a
his.
plan that works for
No
you.
time for tired.
Physios and personal
Nothing can
trainers on
disable this
site.
love. He needs
You'll find a wide
But
range
I'm
of
the lucky
equipment and
one,
classes,
even though
and
I
our
need help
expert
now
team
and
will
then.
support you
If you're
to get the
caring for
most
a
out
loved
of your
one,
health,
visit
fitness,
aarp.org/caregiving
and your
for care
Go
guides
today
and
to
community
get the rest of the
support
month
for
free.
your strength.
Search
Brought to you by
Network Health.
AARP and the Ad
Specialists
Council.
in you.
Are you interested in a
At the Bank of Santander, they've created Stan, a smart bot that can predict the future of remortgaging.
I read Stan. Will my mortgage rate go up?
Fitness enemy number one. So don't just run.
Try not to mumble.
Run. Mix it up.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they can't predict your future, but they'll help secure it with great mortgage rates fixed for up to 10 years. See what's possible at Santander.
Early repayment charges apply. Lending subject to status and criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
Welcome inside Rachel's
Mix it up at Virgin Active and get stronger,
Now's the
fitter,
time to
faster.
Join
Should
up
we
for
stay
12
put
months
or
and pay
sell
nothing
out?
until March.
Wait,
T's and
it's
C's
definitely
apply.
best to wait.
Run.
No, sell. Definitely sell.
Relax,
At the
Rachel.
Bank of Santander,
Purple bricks
they've
have sold
created
more
Stan,
homes
a
than any
smart
other
bot that
estate
can
agent
predict
for
the
2
future
years
of
running.
remortgaging.
I read Stan.
Purple
Will my
bricks.
mortgage rate go up?
Independent sales data from 20CI, May 17, April 19. Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months. Fee and services cost extra.
Whatever job you're
Meanwhile, at
searching for,
Santander,
you can
they
find it
can't
on
predict your
LinkedIn.
future, but they'll
First
help
job,
secure it
flexible
with
jobs,
great mortgage
keeping
rates
out the
fixed
cold
for up to
jobs,
10 years. See
advertising
what's possible
jobs,
at
accounting
Santander.
jobs,
Early
HR,
repayment
PR,
charges
even
apply.
ER
Lending
jobs,
subject to
East
status and
London
criteria.
jobs, West
Your home
London
may be
jobs,
repossessed
extra
if you do
hour
not keep
in
up
bed
repayments on your
jobs,
mortgage.
whatever job you're searching for, you can find get home in the daylight jobs, first jobs, banking jobs, building jobs, flexible working on a Friday jobs, accounting jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
Fly with Cathay Pacific to over 70 destinations across Asia and Australia and move beyond the familiar. State-of-the-art cabins, world-class entertainment and award-winning service, making sure you arrive ready to make the most of whatever lies ahead. Whether it's the endless white beaches of Bali, the mesmerizing metropolis of Tokyo, or the bustling markets of Hanoi, book now at cathaypacific.com. Cathay Pacific. Move beyond.
Take our new 30-gig data SIM for just £10
Hello,
a month.
I'm here at the
with
Race
unlimited
Life
calls
Pretty
and
Muddy
texts and
with
no
Great
speed
Britain's
restrictions,
Janty Coeur.
credit checks or
Janty,
contract
do you have a
tying down
message for
while
the
you shop
millions
around?
tuned in at
New
home?
plans,
What
great
are you
value.
talking about?
That's
Millions of
Smarty.
people
Grab
aren't
yours
tuning
today.
in
Search
to witness
Smarty
me
Mobile.
doing a
See
muddy
smarty.co.uk
obstacle
for
course.
terms.
Well, they absolutely should, Janty. You're a remarkable athlete.
I'm a geography
Welcome back
teacher.
to Squawk on the Street, where I am
We're not
live today
athletes,
from the
we're
World
cancer
Economic Forum in
beaters.
Davos,
Sign up to
Switzerland.
Race for Life
The
now and get
International
30% off
Monetary
entry until the
Fund
31st of January.
trimming its
Partnership with
2020
Tesco.
growth
Taking it for a
forecast just this
spin
week.
has
And joining me
changed.
now,
Giving it a
Managing
whirl
Director
has
of the
changed.
IMF,
With
Kristalina
£500 towards a
Georgieva.
qualifying
Nice
new
to see you.
Vauxhall with
Thank you very much
4.9%
for having me
APR
here.
representative
So I
when you
mentioned
take a test
the
drive.
global
The rules
outlook.
have changed.
Explain
Book
what
your
was the
test
reason
drive
behind the
now.
downgrade.
Well, let me
Vauxhall.
first state
New
that
rules
we are in a
Britannia.
better place
Allowance provided
today
as deposit
than we
contribution
were
on
in
qualifying new
October.
Vauxhalls. Conditional sale and
The
personal
trimming
contract purchase
down
only.
is
Subject to
because
status.
of
T's and C's.
India,
18 plus.
abrupt
Vauxhall Finance.
slowdown in one
Registered by
country,
2nd of April
and a little
2020.
bit because of
Search
unrest
Try Your New
in a couple
Vauxhall.
of countries, Hong Kong,
At TUI,
Chile,
we're spreading sunshine early by
So it
giving
doesn't say
away
anything about
hundreds
the
of
overall-
thousands of free kids' places. So you can holiday with the little ones for less. Book today and spread the cost with £0 deposit
deposit when you pay with direct debit. From splash parks to swimming lessons. At TUI, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. Direct debit on web bookings only. Free kids places subject to limited availability. One free child place per 2 full paying adults. Booking T's and C's apply at all protected.
You might already know that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro sports leagues wherever you go. But did you know TuneIn is also home to the wide world of college sports?
Handoff Carruthers, big hole right side. He leaps and he surges in. Touchdown.
From live college football, basketball, and baseball games to podcasts and coaches shows fueling your love for the game in your school. And the best part is, it's all free. Search college sports to find your team or league.
More predictability because
go to Davos. President Trump is speaking.
Holding growth rates down is uncertainty. Anything that can be done to reduce uncertainty is good for
Looks
growth.
like taking a little break there from the comments. President Trump is in Davos, Switzerland. He was making some comments to a group of gatherers, but we will go back if he goes back to the mic, and we will certainly bring that to you. Right now, let's take a look at the Treasury market. We had some news come out recently that the U.S. Treasury is going to begin issuing a 20-year bond. Remember, they have 10-year bonds, 30-year bonds, 2-year bonds, now a 20-year bond. I was hoping for the 50 or 100-year bond, but apparently that's not going to work. But right now, let's go to Ira Jersey, Chief U.S. Interest Rate Strategist from Bloomberg Intelligence.
I think he'll be joining us momentarily, but it's really interesting when we talk about longer-term debt. This particular move of the U.S. Treasury Department was actually viewed as the lesser of a lot of the options because people pushed for a 50 or 100-year option. Right. President Trump kind of jawboning the Treasury to say, hey, lock in these really low costs. What are the potential consequences, though, for markets to have these sort of more bespoke instruments that might not have the same sort of liquidity around them? What does that do to the yield curve and fundamental borrowing costs and returns for pensions for everyone, right? So this has been sort of the big conundrum for the Treasury as they try to roll out some of these.
Ira Jersey, again, Chief U.S. Interest Rate Strategist from Bloomberg Intelligence, joins us on the phone here. So, Ira, good to have you back. Talk to us about why the Treasury decided on the 20-year bond and maybe not the 50 or the 100-year bond.
Yeah, so I think a 100-year bond was always a pipe dream. I don't think that was ever going to realistically come about. I think it has to do with liquidity. So one of the things is, at least bureaucratically, and the Treasury Department likes to be regular and predictable. And the issue with doing a 50-year, it would be hard to be regular and predictable in the issuance of that because while there might be a lot of demand initially, how deep that demand is from the likes of pension funds and insurance companies was a little bit questionable. So a 20-year kind of fits some other needs in that it's still a relatively long duration product. It fits within the 10-year and the 30-year. And quite frankly, and I think this is an underappreciated fact, is that there's also futures instruments that already trade in that context where you could use to hedge that part of the yield curve. So because there's already these products that are liquid, it'll make issuance of them easier because dealers, for example, could hedge the potential risk that they're going to take down a lot of bonds. So I think it fits a lot of those boxes where they can be regular and predictable and also have kind of good execution at the auctions.
I'm wondering, just taking a broader look at the Treasury market, we saw overnight the Bank of Japan coming out, holding policy steady, but increasing their growth expectations. We're seeing that kind of across the board, this view that central banks aren't moving anytime soon and are going to allow inflation to run hot. What's the risk that they get what they ask for and that disrupts the bond market?
Well, certainly the bond market doesn't think that that's going to happen. I think that there is, Lisa, the risk that you're talking about, where if inflation runs hot because the expectation is that central banks are going to leave interest rates, low or say at this level, say the Federal Reserve, we think the Federal Reserve will be on hold probably most of this year, if not all of this year. And if anything, they're more likely to ease than hike. So in an environment like that, if you do get inflation, particularly at the core level, creeping up above 2%, which right now, core CPI has been printing above 2%, but core PCE, that's the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, the personal consumption expenditures deflator. If that creeps up toward 2.5, then you'd wind up seeing probably a significant increase in things like tips break even. So the inflation expectation built into the market right now has been very steady, and if that starts to creep up, that will wind up leading to a pretty big sell-off probably in nominal yields. And in an environment like that, a 25 basis point increase in inflation expectations might lead to a 50 basis point sell-off in, say, 10-year yields. So that would mean 10-year yields back above 2% probably on a pretty persistent basis.
Ira, give us an update, if you will, on kind of the short end of the curve, the repo market. Are we at a new level of stability, or is the market still looking for perhaps a longer-term solution to kind of stabilize the short end?
Yeah, so the Fed is still, I think, looking at some kind of facility. They don't like doing the traditional open market operations given the size of their balance sheet right now, but we do have a lot of stability in the front end. And like we mentioned, and like I mentioned on your show quite a lot, Paul, is that, these quarter end and these kind of times when the balance sheet moves around a lot because of things like tax receipts and just natural functioning of the financial sector, you'll see these jumps in things like the secured overnight financing rate or in the Fed funds rate, but they tend to stabilize very quickly. And right now we're in this period of stability, but you get toward the end of March and you're going to be back into a quarter end situation where you could wind up seeing some more volatility in repo. But again, that's normal. I mean, that happens all the time. It's just now we're hypersensitive to it. Whereas back in 2005 and 2004, when things like this happened, it was only nerds like me that actually paid attention.
Just to put into perspective, since I might be filed into the same category, Ira, we did get the New York Fed's term repo operation results out today, and it was undersubscribed, showing that there wasn't as much demand for the services of this operation, just to sort of feed into the narrative that there isn't any kind of disruption. Hey, Ira, going forward, one thing that's really been kind of weighing on me is the lack of movement in all markets, but including in the Treasury market. It's been really, really steady and without really big moves. Does this worry you that the market is not positioned for some sort of disruption, albeit potentially something from inflation or potentially a policy move?
Well, what's interesting, I think, in the Treasury market in particular, and you're right, we've been in basically a pretty narrow range from about 175 to 195, broadly speaking, for the last 4 months or so. But I think one of the things is speculators are actually positioned very short. So you look at Treasury futures positioning, and there's a lot of long duration shorts in the market. And so I think that's one of the things that's kind of impeding more significant sell-offs. So it's a little bit easier for those guys to cover at this point if they don't think that the risk of higher rates is increasing. So I think that's actually kind of preventing a lot of big moves, particularly to higher yields and lower prices in terms of the Treasury market.
Really interesting, especially at a time when the MOVE Index, which is a measure of implied volatility in Treasury yields going forward, is at the lowest level since May 2019. Interesting to see the positioning isn't quite as vanilla as that range would suggest. Ira Jersey, thank you so much for being with us. Ira Jersey, Chief U.S. Interest Rate Strategist for Bloomberg Intelligence, joining us from Princeton, New Jersey. Right now, we're seeing a bit of a bid in yields, but nothing to write home about because, as we said, volatility has died. And people are saying it is the central banks and their policies that have killed it off. The consequences of it still unknown, but Ira's saying definitely checks and balances still very much in play behind the scenes. I'm Lisa Abramowitz with Paul Sweeney. This is Bloomberg Markets.
When you're not listening to your team, take
this
it to
is
the
the Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks are lower to start the trading week. The emergence of the respiratory illness in China has stirred memories of the SARS outbreak 17 years ago for some market watchers. Tracking giant Halliburton joined Schlumberger in predicting a contraction of its domestic market in 2020. Shale producers continue to cut back on expenses. The oil services sector has cut thousands of jobs and scrapped unwanted fracking equipment in recent months. The maker of Reynolds Wrap and Hefty Trash Bags has set the terms for its proposed initial public offering that could raise as much as $1.3 billion. The company plans to offer 47 million shares at an estimated price range of $25 to $28 apiece.
And looking for Super Bowl tickets but don't have the cash now?
Also,
StubHub is partnering with financial technology company Affirm to let customers buy tickets on a payment plan. Starting this week, customers looking for tickets will be able to pay those off with interest over a period of up to 1 year. Courtney Donahoe, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, everyone. Al Roker here. As a guy with his own catchphrase, I appreciate that after 75 years, Smokey's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But I'm filling in because there's a lot more to report. Like when it's dry or windy. Be careful burning yard waste, because wildfires can even start in your neck of the woods. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
What if you could keep the top economic experts in a conference room next to your office without having to feed them?
Do we need better optics? Do we need some substance? Do CEOs care about ESG?
We have seen quite a lot of stimulus pumped into the system already.
It's the biggest warning yet about the financial risks of climate change.
Now, there are more ways to hear us. Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and at BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
But I've spoken with many.
Are you interested in it?
On a TUI tour, our English-speaking local guides will take you off the tourist trail. They won't just help you find the perfect souvenir, they'll show you how to make it. Choose from over 70 unforgettable tours worldwide. From tranquil temples in India to sunrise safaris in South Africa. On a TUI tour, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. Book now and enjoy up to £200 off per booking. Booking T's and C's and minimum spend applies. Selected holidays only. At all protected.
Still remain about this company. And
Having to deal with financial stuff can make you feel...
From the time that you initially heard until...
But at Money Supermarket, we make you feel... That's because we go further to help you get money car. We don't just compare. We cut prices to help you get better car insurance deals. Get money car. Money Supermarket.
Unclear if you would consider that a subordinate.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right? Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today.
In Davos, Switzerland. He was asked why it's better for him to be in Davos.
10 years ago, the book The New Jim Crow helped ignite a movement against mass incarceration. This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, I'll talk with the author, Michelle Alexander.
Millions of people have been relegated to a permanent second-class status. It wasn't a message people were eager to hear, but I think it is today easier to see.
Listen to this episode of the New Yorker Radio Hour on TuneIn today.
And then got into a waiting car. Before leaving, though, he admitted he was taking.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
Right now, instead of hearing this, you could be listening to the music that keeps you moving with TuneIn Premium. Find today's biggest songs and all of your favorites commercial-free. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
I know, it does, right?
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Go courtside with the NBA on TuneIn. With the NBA on TuneIn, hear your favorite team and players take on their biggest rivals during the biggest games throughout the year, including regular season showdowns, the 2020 All-Star Game, and the NBA Finals in June, featuring the home and away calls for all 30 teams. Plus, with the NBA On Demand, relive the best moments of the season by listening to the past games in their entirety. Listen to the NBA all season long on TuneIn.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world.
TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most. Get stronger on TuneIn. Faster.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119. And around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Markets.
Coming up, we're going to talk to our good buddy Tara LaChapelle of Bloomberg Opinion, get her thoughts on Netflix, the company reporting earnings after the close tonight. We'll also discuss the streaming wars in general. Plus, Senate impeachment trial of President Trump begins tomorrow. We will preview what to expect over the next several days and weeks. But first, let's go to John Tucker of Bloomberg News for a Bloomberg Business Flash. John.
All right, Paul, it is risk-off to some extent in the U.S. or global markets, indeed. And if you're looking for something to blame, the impact of the mysterious respiratory virus in China being felt across the stock markets. Now you have shares of European luxury goods sliding for a second session, followed declines in Asian consumer and tourism-related companies. Now, by contrast, you have select drug developers and makers of things like masks and protective gear. They are all soaring. You have a luxury leader, LVMH, falling as much as 4% in Paris today, accelerating the climb for Friday's record peak. As we look at stocks in the U.S. right now, the major averages, Dow Jones Industrial Average, 72 points lower. That's down about 0.3%. We're at 29,275. The S&P 500, 8 points lower. That's down 0.2 at 33.21. And in the broader market, 189 shares are up, 315 are down right now in the S&P 500. Nasdaq Composite Index, that's 13 points lower. That's down 10 at 93.75. Bit of a spike to volatility, up about 4%. The VIX, that is, still at 12.58. We have the 10-year yield, 177, as the price is up by 12.30 seconds. And we have the yen, 109.94, usually a haven. That's up 0.2% against the greenback. We check the markets for you every 15 minutes during the trading day right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker. That is your Bloomberg Business Flash.
Bloomberg Opinion, informed perspectives, and expert data-driven commentary on breaking news.
It is 10:33, and it is time to check in with our Bloomberg Opinion colleagues. Today, Tara LaChapelle, we are so lucky to have her darkening the doorway, as Tom Keene would say. We're talking Netflix, because Netflix is reporting earnings after the bell. Highly anticipated, given how much their shares have absolutely surged and how much competition they face this year. Tara, what are you looking for when they report?
So I think a lot of people expect that the U.S. numbers aren't going to be so great. They might miss on those. You could tell by sort of the ramp up in marketing they did towards the end of last year. And a lot of their newer movies and shows didn't get released until around the holidays anyway. So you might see an uptick in customers leaving, or fewer signups in the U.S. But really the growth is coming internationally. So you can kind of see how they're so far ahead of these other apps that are launching, and how these other companies like Disney are going to have to catch up with that. But I think as far as the threat of Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus, there shouldn't be too much of an impact on this quarter's earnings yet, because these apps are so new, and I don't think that they had enough on them at launch for people to just go ahead and just cut Netflix. But it does point to a higher rate of churn on all of these apps towards the middle and end of this year, as more people become aware of these services and start to kind of bounce between them.
What is Netflix management saying? I know Reed Hastings, the co-founder and CEO, has really always been, I think, very forthright with how he views competition. What is he saying about how the streaming, environment is likely to play out over the next few years?
I mean, I think he thinks there's room for everybody, but it does mean more spending. We're seeing that already. He said, Netflix spending had gone up like 30% on new content last year because, they can't make a show like House of Cards at $100 million anymore. It's becoming very costly because there's just more studios and more services competing for talent, and there's more demand for content. So there's a lot more shows out today than there were, 10 years ago on regular cable TV. So I think it's just becoming very expensive, and I think that's why last week's release or unveiling of Comcast NBCU's Peacock service was very interesting, because they're going the ad-supported route, and I think that tells you that, Comcast realizes this isn't really a great business model the way the streaming apps are now, and maybe we're going to need to go to advertising to make these profitable.
And you were to a column about how that's the right approach.
And as a result,
I think so. I mean, I don't think ads are enjoyable, but I think that when it comes down to price and, just having all these different services, and it just becomes very expensive, I think, at the end of the day. So I think if they could find a way to have ads be less intrusive and maybe keep the cost down, it would be good.
Is there an opportunity here to have no cost or a very low cost, get enough of a critical mass, and if they're the only mover in this kind of model, they can command a higher premium from advertisers, and it's been shown that people would prefer a lower cost than no ads. Is that the idea?
Absolutely. They're going for eyeballs, and Comcast even said this is going to be free for not just Comcast subscribers, but Cox subscribers as well, and they're hoping to talk to the other cable operators about this and have those operators make it free for their customers as well, because this is all about getting eyeballs, not about getting a $5 or $10 a month subscription fee, and that's a very different strategy than what these other companies are pursuing. The margins on that look a lot better. Hulu makes more money off of its ad-supported customers than its higher subscription-based customers, so I think that's what Comcast is looking at and trying to emulate.
Is Netflix still a stock that's driven by subscriber numbers as opposed to profit margins and free cash flow and things like that?
I guess for now, I think this year that's going to have to change, right? Or maybe they'll have to talk up international more. We're just not going to see the growth on the U.S. side anymore. And, Netflix has kind of gone back and forth between talking about this goal of getting to, cash flow positive versus, well, maybe not now, because there's all these other services and it's very expensive to stock this with content nowadays. So I think, I don't know what the story is going to be this year. Something's going to have to change in this business generally. But right now, I don't think subscriber numbers are going to be super impressive tonight.
Well, and shareholders don't care about cash burn at this point, right, for Netflix? They're starting to care a little bit more?
I think people are starting to care a little bit more because they're going to have competition for the first time, real competition. And as much as Reed Hastings says that, their competition is still traditional cable TV and getting people to cut the cord, and he kind of views it as anyone who cuts the cord is good for the streaming industry. Netflix does have rivals, and they may not be as great as Netflix, but they're going to be out there and people are curious.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see to what extent these stories can go from being subscriber growth stories to kind of real business stories and P&L, because I think it'll be interesting to see what Disney does if they start disclosing their subscribers, which we don't know whether they're going to do that, but initially it seemed like they were subscriber numbers for Disney Plus, at least in the first day, the first week, the first month were pretty good. Tara LaChapelle, entertainment and telecommunications columnist for Bloomberg Opinion, joining us here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. You can read more of Tara's stuff. It's awesome stuff. She covers the TMT space. You can read that on Bloomberg.com/opinion and on the terminal by typing OPIN GO. Lots of good stuff.
Well, yeah, she has a chart, for example, in her one of her recent columns comparing the cost for the different streaming services, and you can kind of feel how Peacock is trying to position itself as a lower cost option, but with all of the content, but with a supplement of advertising. It's a very interesting model.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how these companies are tiering their products. You can get it free, you can get it with ad supported, pay a lot, pay a little bit. You run the risk there of confusing people where, hey, I just go to Netflix and pay my $10 or $12 a month and I'm good to go. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Right now, let's head down to our 99.1 studios in Washington, D.C. for World and National Headlines from Nathan Hager. Nathan.
Paul, thanks. President Trump has been touting the U.S. economy and focusing on trade as he visits the World Economic Forum in Davos, but he is also keeping an eye on impeachment as the Senate trial is set to get underway in just a couple hours.
The whole thing is a total hoax, so I'm sure it's going to work out fine.
The president spoke to reporters in Switzerland as Democrats in Washington gear up for a fight over the rules. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is proposing 24 hours of arguments for each side spread over 2 days apiece. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says that would mean a week of very late nights.
If the Republican arguments were so strong, if President Trump were so confident, and McConnell were so confident of his arguments, why do they have to do them at 2 in the morning?
Meantime, House impeachment managers are raising concerns about the president's lead lawyer, saying White House counsel Pat Cipollone is himself a fact witness who should turn over documents about the president's actions toward Ukraine. A caravan of as many as 3,000 migrants is testing Mexico's pledge to President Trump to halt undocumented arrivals to the U.S. Bloomberg's Amy Morris reports from Washington.
Mexico faced generalized tariff threats from President Trump last year if it didn't slow the number of Central American migrants reaching the U.S. Now Mexican President Lopez Obrador has promised caravan members jobs and transported more than 1,000 migrants to Mexican immigration centers for processing. Analysts say Obrador is just doing what he can to avoid clashes with President Trump in the run-up to the presidential election. In Washington, I'm Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is Bloomberg.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing for a highly personalized experience? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's fast-paced environment, where the only constants are change and volatility, you need a prime broker who's both steady and agile, focused on supporting your needs so that you can focus on growing your business and producing results. Exceptional client service and advocating for our clients is at the core of what we do. Our award-winning high-touch team is just one of the benefits of working with BNY Mellon. We help alternative investment managers create great experiences for their clients. Whether it's customized financing, securities lending solutions, platform access, or outsourced trading, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and dedicated to meeting your evolving demands.
To learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers, visit Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE SIPC.
Take your bags and stresses away. The cocktails are ready to serve, the movies are loaded, and we're all set for takeoff to the Caribbean. So, take your seat in our award-winning economy class. We're ready to go.
To 64,000 in just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
In-depth analysis, concise
At Bank of Santander, they've created Stan, a smart bot that can predict the future of remortgaging.
I'll read Stan.
We cut prices to help you get better car insurance deals. Get money
try not to mumble.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they can't predict your future, but they'll help secure it with great mortgage rates fixed for up to 10 years. See what's possible at Santander.
Early repayment charges apply. Lending subject to status and criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
More squawk on the street coming up.
Phone.
70s playlist
You know that tech stock we talked about?
Right now, instead of hearing this, you could be listening to the music that keeps you moving with TuneIn Premium. Find today's biggest songs and all of your favorites commercial-free. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
So expect delays due to lane closures at the junction of Kew Bridge Road
Want to hear about
and
the latest
Chiswick
and
High
greatest
Road.
things to
Plan
listen
ahead
to
at
on TuneIn
tfl.gov.uk
for reminders of the biggest
to
live
the Mayor
sports
of London and
games,
TfL.
debates, and
Every
breaking
journey
news
matters.
stories.
On a
Follow
TUI
at
tour,
TuneIn
our
on
English-speaking
Facebook,
local
Twitter, and
guides will
Instagram
take you
to
off
stay
the
connected
tourist
with
trail.
audio that
They
matters
won't just
to
help
you.
you find the perfect souvenir.
In case you didn't
They'll
know,
show you
tune
how
in
to
lets you
make
listen
it.
to the same radio
Choose from
stations
over
you pick up on
70
your home or car
unforgettable
radio,
tours
except you can
worldwide.
hear them from anywhere.
From tranquil
If you want to
temples
find
in
a
India
station
to
from somewhere
sunrise
else in the
safaris in
world,
South
navigate
Africa.
to the buy
On a TUI
location
tour,
section under
we cross the
Browse.
T's,
Keep
dot the
exploring with
I's,
TuneIn.
and put you in the middle. Book now and enjoy up to £200 off per booking.
Tesla
Booking T's
surging
and
this
C's and
morning
minimum
behind
spend
several Wall
applies.
Street upgrades.
Selected
Pierre
holidays only.
Farragut over
At
at
all
New Street
protected.
does initiate a new target.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
And the way he's managed to just pound the shorts.
Yeah. Well, it's
The
very
puck
interesting.
drops.
EVs are the future.
12
The
players
interesting
face off
question,
to win.
though, is
The suspense
when's
is
the
pure
payoff
torture,
and
but
what's
you
the outcome?
wouldn't miss this for the
Look at what
world.
Tesla has
TuneIn
done.
brings you every
They
minute
have really
of the NHL
created a very
season.
kind of iconic
Listen
brand
live to hockey
for
when it matters most on
on TuneIn.
Right now, instead of hearing this, you could be listening to the music that keeps you moving with TuneIn Premium. Find today's biggest songs and all of your favorites commercial. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
They're ramping the plant in China right now. They're building the plant in Europe.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Go courtside with the NBA on TuneIn. With the NBA on TuneIn, hear your favorite team and players take on their biggest rivals during the biggest games throughout the year, including regular season showdown, the 2020 All-Star Game, and the NBA Finals in June, featuring the home and away calls for all 30 teams. Plus, with the NBA on demand, relive the best moments of the season by listening to the past games in their entirety. Listen to the NBA all season long on TuneIn.
Over the next 4 or 5 years, that cost,
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right? Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today.
ramping up and becoming a mass manufacturer.
Concrete, things like steel, reinforcing our soil.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Over the traditional
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm John Tucker in the Bloomberg Newsroom with this Bloomberg Business Flash. We have stocks falling today, joining a global decline. Investors grappling with worries that there's a deadly virus in China that might undercut economic growth. And some of the havens, they're rising. Treasuries, they are higher. 10-year yield is at 177. The Japanese yen, another haven, that's up about 0.2 against the greenback at 109.93. All three of the main U.S. equity gauges, they've been sliding. Industrial shares among the worst performers after we had those declines in Asia and Europe. We have the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now 90 points lower. That's down 0.3% at 29,256. The S&P 500 8 points lower. That's down 0.3 at 3321. The Nasdaq Composite Index 15 points lower. That's down 0.2% at 9373. A rise in volatility also today. The VIX up about 3.6%. We check the markets for you every 15 minutes during the trading day right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker, and that is your Bloomberg Business Flash.
You're listening to Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Well, the Senate impeachment trial begins in earnest later today. To get a sense of how this could play out, we welcome Bob Mintz. Bob's a partner of McCarter and English based in Newark, New Jersey. Bob, thanks so much for joining us. I guess the first question is, will Senator McConnell allow witnesses to be called? Because that is really probably the first key issue here, don't you think?
Yeah, that's ultimately what this entire trial will be about. We're not going to get that answer, though, for several days, and I think people watching this ought to be paying close attention to these presentations given by the House managers and by the President's defense team, and everything that is said during that process should be viewed through the lens of the question of will it bring 4 or more senators closer to perhaps joining Democrats and asking for witnesses, or will it push them further away from that? Because ultimately, the climax of this trial will be that vote on whether to call witnesses and whether to ask for additional documents.
Bob, there were a lot of discussions over the weekend about media access to the hearings, with even C-SPAN, not normally thought of as a firebrand of media outlets, coming out and really lobbying for better access. Can you talk a little bit about that and sort of in perspective how common it is for press not to really be allowed into most of the proceedings?
That's a big deal.
Well, we've obviously not had very many impeachment trials. This will be only the third and only the second in modern history since the Clinton impeachment trial. And so a lot of this stuff is really uncharted territory. What's going to be interesting here is that while senators do get to ask questions, even that process will be behind closed doors, so the media will not be there to listen to what the senators have to say. So there's a lot of pressure to have this brought to the public, to have the media there to watch what's going on, but there are also some countervailing forces there that are against that, such as the caucusing of senators privately to ask questions, and then there's also the fact that Mitch McConnell is pushing this 24 hours of argument into a compressed 2-day period, so it's quite possible that we're going to see some of these presentations by the House managers and by the President's defense team late into the evening.
So, Bob, what do you make of the White House defense brief, the kind of the what they are laying out as the defense position?
So, I think you'll see...
Well, what they're arguing essentially is that there's been no crime here that's been committed, and what's really being attacked here is the president's judgment that he was merely acting in the United States best interest, and all of these charges are a little more than political attacks by presidents, by Democrats. But really, most of the scholars out there who have looked at this don't agree with the position that Republicans are taking. They say that high crimes and misdemeanors do not have to include an actual criminal act. The problem is that by design, the framers gave very little guidance as to what would constitute a high crime and misdemeanor, and really left it up to the political process to decide what would be enough to remove a president from office.
I'm curious about Chief Justice Roberts. What's his role exactly going to be here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, the Constitution is very vague on what the role of the Chief Justice was. When Chief Justice Rehnquist presided over the Clinton impeachment trial, he did very little. I think he was famously quoted as saying he did nothing in particular and did it very well. So I don't think we're going to see a very critical role played by Chief Justice Roberts, because one of the things that the impeachment process provides is that even if the Chief Justice makes a ruling, that ruling can be overturned by a simple majority of the Senate. That's obviously not something we would ever see in actual trial here, and it really sets the stage for the fact that the Senate is the one that will ultimately call the shots here.
Last week, Bob, the Department of Accountability found that the withholding Ukraine aid was, in fact, an issue, a problem. Does that factor at all into this impeachment process?
Well, it's certainly going to be something we're going to see the Democrats arguing, but at the end of the day, that was not a finding of any criminal wrongdoing. And what the Republicans are trying to do is frame this as an argument that since no crime has been committed, a president shouldn't be removed for something that doesn't even rise to the level of criminal conduct. And otherwise, what we're doing is we're taking political differences and allowing Democrats to use that as a means to remove the president from office.
Just taking a step back, I think a lot of people aren't following this as closely as people who are in the Beltway or in the media world, and I'm wondering what the big takeaway is going to be, since we know what the outcome is going to be. The likely outcome is that the Senate will not vote to convict, and that probably it will be a very short trial, and then everybody will move on, albeit with a lot of noise on both sides, or at least certainly on the Democratic side. Is there a bigger legal takeaway from this whole affair that you think is important?
Yeah, well, I think there is, and that is that for impeachment to really work, I think what we've seen is that there has to be at least some bipartisan buy-in. And even in the Clinton impeachment process, when they began the process and they adopted the rules for the trial itself, it was a vote of 100-0. That meant that every single senator bought into the process, even though they may have disagreed with what the outcome would be. Here we're seeing just the opposite. We're going to see a complete party line vote as to the process. And if you don't have any buy-in from the other side as to the process, it's very hard to believe that the outcome will be in any way bipartisan or objective.
On a TUI tour,
what is your sense of timing here, Bob? How should we think about this over the next few days?
Book now and enjoy up to
well, I think the critical moment will come when we do have this decision about whether or not to call witnesses. We're going to have the arguments from both sides that will occur over a 24-hour period. That will spill into the weekend, and then I think sometime early next week, after the Senate spends 16 hours deliberating, they will call up this critical question of whether or not there will be witnesses here. And there are 4 senators on the Republican side that have expressed some interest in calling witnesses. So there's a possibility that 4 senators will swing over to the Democratic side to allow for at least some witnesses to be called. And if that happens, we go into an entirely new phase of this trial that will be unpredictable in terms of how it will play out and how long it will last.
Bob, just 20 seconds. How should it play out from your perspective?
Find the local radio section.
Well, I think that we ought to at least have some witnesses called here, and I think that is the view of 4 senators. Whether or not they will ultimately buck Mitch McConnell, buck the party, buck their base in order to do that remains a big open question.
Bob Mintz, thank you so much for your perspective. Bob Mintz is a partner at McCarter and English in Newark, New Jersey. Also, former federal organized crime prosecutor and was assistant counsel to former New Jersey Governor Tom Keene. So a lot of experience when it comes to yes.
They do undergrad.
This is what matters. Lisa rolls her eyes. I don't roll my eyes because I have anything against Duke. I think Duke is a phenomenal school.
But we don't need to bring it up every time, is what you're saying.
Well, except that you do, right? That's basically what you're saying. You're looking at me. Yes, we do have to bring that up every time. We are going to be hearing much more about all of the impeachment hearings coming up for the rest of the day and the rest of the week, coming up at noon, starting at noon. From Washington, D.C., we have our own David Weston with Bloomberg's Balance of Power, broadcasting live with a special focus on these hearings. I'm Lisa Ramos with Paul Sweeney. This is Bloomberg Markets.
Sometimes the simplest method.
You might already know that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro sports leagues wherever you go. But did you know TuneIn is also home to the wide world of college sports?
We're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30-gig data SIM for just £10 a month.
From live college football, basketball, and baseball games to podcasts and coaches shows fueling your love for the game in your school. And the best part is, it's all free. Search college sports to find your team or league.
Smarty.co.uk for terms.
Keys. Check.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
Go courtside with the NBA on TuneIn. With the NBA on TuneIn, hear your favorite team and players take on their biggest rivals during the biggest game throughout the year, including regular season showdown, the 2020 All-Star Game.
Sometimes in business, you have to take risks, but trading across borders and currencies shouldn't be one of them. With Western Union Business Solutions, we can help you manage the risk of doing business internationally. Our valuable experience, expert knowledge, and extensive global network makes us the ideal trusted partner for your business. And with our customer-focused support team, you'll receive a dedicated solution and personalized service. Visit westernunionbusiness.com. Western Union Business Solutions, a global financial network you can trust.
Do you do the same thing every weekend? You know, meet up with the same friends for brunch, browse around the same shops, eat the same Saturday night takeaway, mine's a lamb poultry with mushroom pinot rice, snuggle up next to the same person and watch the same brain-numbing reality TV. Then maybe it's time to switch it up. Starting with the all-new Vauxhall Corsa with its bold styling and up to 70 miles per gallon. To switch it up, visit your local Vauxhall dealership or search New Corsa. Official WLTP test figures for comparison purposes only. Real-world figures may vary.
2 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on ClickTake by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeney.
Are we on the brink of a more serious downturn?
I've always thought of the municipal bond market as a little bit of a safe haven.
Banks are going to have to start paying their depositors more.
Are we still in that mode where we're buying the dips?
Breaking market news and insight from Bloomberg experts.
Cash, if you're looking at treasury bills, provides a higher return than stocks and bonds here in the U.S.
If you're a consumer as a woman, you're more likely to be a growth company.
Longer-term interest rates can go down, even with short-term interest rates still going up a little bit.
This is Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Well, as Brexit continues to drag on, an interesting phenomenon is taking place. While the FTSE index is actually increasing, going up, the total value of that equity market is declining. We'll show you how that is happening. Plus, we're going to talk to our good friend Allison Williams, talk about those UBS earnings missing, really casting a continued pall on European banks. But first, let's go to John Tucker of Bloomberg News for a Bloomberg Business Flash. John.
Yeah, and Paul and Lisa, stock indexes, they're slipping today. You have worries about the fallout from a deadly virus outbreak in China. Also, a gloomy growth outlook. That's coming from the International Monetary Fund. We've got a pause to the record-setting rally on Wall Street as a result. The developments sour the mood for investors in the U.S. returning from the holiday weekend. You had strong data, the signing of the Phase 1 U.S.-China trade deal, and an upbeat start to the fourth quarter earnings season. It all sent the main indexes to fresh highs on Friday. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 103 points lower. That's down 0.3%. We're at 29,244. The S&P 500 down 9 points. That's down 0.3. We're at 3320. The Nasdaq Composite Index 19 points lower. That's down 0.2 at 9370. Matt Maley is the equity strategist at Miller Tabak. He's cautious about any continued rise in U.S. stocks.
We're very vulnerable at some point soon to a real pullback in the market of 7% or more, 7 or 8%. And again, it may not come for a little while. It actually may not come for quite a while because of the liquidity that the Fed is providing.
Now, elsewhere, Germany's DAX index briefly surpassed the peak that it reached 2 years ago. Bank of Japan kept policy unchanged as expected, though it raised its economic growth forecast for this year. And some of the events to watch out for this week, companies including Netflix, IBM, Procter & Gamble, and Hyundai will all be posting results. And we check the markets for you every 15 minutes during the trading day right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker. That is your Bloomberg Business Flash. Paul and Lisa.
Thank you so much, John Tucker. Bloomberg Markets brought to you by Commonwealth Financial Network. For the sixth straight time, J.D. Power ranks Commonwealth #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms. Visit Commonwealth.com to learn more. Let's take a look at small and mid-cap shares, which have consistently underperformed and continue to do so today. Dave Wilson, Bloomberg Stocks Editor, joining us here in our interactive broker studios. Dave?
That's right, Lisa. I mean, you're seeing bigger declines among smaller companies in today's trading. The Russell 2000 down 0.6%, while the S&P 500 is only lower by about 0.3%. Now, the steepest drop in the Russell, at least one of them, belongs to Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, whose ticker is ARWR. The drug developers lost more than 12.5%. Arrowhead was assigned the equivalent of a sell rating and new coverage at SVB Leerink. Hallador Energy, ticker HNRG, has lost 9.5%. The coal producer cut this year's sales estimate and said it will suspend output at a mine in Indiana. And Lumber Liquidators, ticker LL, is also down about 9.5%. The Florida retailer was the equivalent of sell from whole at Morgan Stanley. Now, the sharpest advance in the Russell by far belongs to Novavax, ticker NVAX. The antibiotics maker has risen more than 42% in response to the outbreak of a respiratory virus in China. Presumably, people speculating that Novavax will be able to come up with something to counter the effect of that ailment. And Accuray, ticker ARAY, has gained more than 13.5%. The maker of a cancer treatment system called Cyberknife was raised to buy from neutral at BTIG.
Bloomberg Stocks Editor Dave Wilson, thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Looking at the Brexit story, the never-ending Brexit story, 4 years and still moving.
Thank you.
Interesting thing as it relates to the equity markets. The good news is that the FTSE has been increasing. That's the UK stock market. But the bad news is that the total value of that market is shrinking. I'm not sure how that math works, but our next guest does. John Author, Senior Editor for Bloomberg Markets, joining us here on our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. So reconcile those two things for me.
It's down to the concept of de-equitization, that companies are increasingly swapping equity for debt for all the good reasons that debt is extremely cheap these days, and because they are less interested in raising capital from stock markets. So if a private equity company takes out a large British company, that has been known to happen, the index doesn't move down as a result of that takeout, but the actual market cap of the companies in that index decreases by whatever the value of that stock company was when it was taken out.
This is a really interesting trend because we haven't just seen it in the United Kingdom, we've seen it globally with public markets shrinking, public equity markets shrinking as an increasing number of companies opt to either stay or go private, these take private deals. And the latest over in the United Kingdom, Warburg Pincus is evidently mulling this deal to buy Quilter PLC, which would be a take private deal. What is the potential consequence of this? I mean, both when it comes to potential returns in public markets as well as the disclosures and the shareholder power when it comes to some of these companies.
Exactly. I mean, that is the concern we've got to have here, is that we've got a model of capitalism that's basically built around shareholder capitalism for the last few decades, and it makes a great deal of sense. You don't need to socialize companies and have them open to the electorate because they are answerable to their shareholders and to the open public markets. If they're not so accountable in some general way through capitalism, through open markets, it becomes much more questionable how much public consent you're going to have in those companies, and you've got to be more concerned about whether you're really going to have the creative destruction that makes capitalism work. It is an underlying deep concern.
Well, presumably these private equity players take these companies private, do whatever they need to do over their 3 to 5 year holding period, and then monetize, exit through perhaps another initial public offering. So shouldn't it all even out over time?
Things like facial recognition.
Well, maybe it should, but it doesn't, or it hasn't been in the last decade or so.
In
many cases, they're exiting to other private equity companies. Remember, and also in many cases, the actual assets that emerge from the private equity process might be smaller, even if they've generated a big return while they've been outside the public eye. They're generally not as big as they were before.
So what's the issue here? Is it that the actual shareholder structure, something about public equity markets, is insufficient to handle the needs of these companies right now? Or is it just that there's so much money flooding into debt markets based on what's happened from the central banks? It's just better to be private, and it's ample financing available.
Both of the above.
The point, I think, is that if you say it's just best to be private, which I think is true for a lot of companies, that's an alarming thing to be saying at this point, because
price targets yet. We'll probably be doing that later this week.
Both an economy
one that I would point to, but
and
I would say
an
I think people are
ecosystem
looking at it the wrong way is Snap. Where I feel like a lot of folks will look at it on a DCF basis and say it's hard to make it work.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Basically, your 401k program or whatever else, you're basically funneling money into public equities. If that public pool of equities is shrinking, that means that you've got that much less access to the companies that choose to stay private might be the ones that actually are growing the fastest and give you the biggest returns, kind of thing, right?
I could see more like $7 billion.
Right, okay. All right, full disclosure, Bloomberg LP is private, but I am wondering, going forward, I mean, is the answer just to open up private markets more easily, to make it more easily accessible to the retail investor?
I strongly believe that it should be. Obviously, you need to be very careful indeed about how you regulate that. You don't want mom and pop investors getting into private equity unless they are having their hands held very gently indeed. But in general terms, if you're in your 20s and only putting a pretty small amount of money aside, but beginning to put money aside into something like a 401k, there really shouldn't be anything much more sensible than private equity to put it into. It's money you don't want for another 40 or 50 years. You should be able to, that should be exactly the kind of patient capital that would be good for that sector, and it should be a way to, a good way for them to save.
Certainly in the U.S. we're starting to see that. We had Arthur Levitt, the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, on over the last several weeks, talking to us about some of these bills coming out of the administration, talking about making it easier for certain certain retail investors to get into private equity. But of course, there's obviously all those risks. I'm going to switch gears real quickly, John. Give us a sense as we get close to Brexit, the next stage. I'm seeing some articles about relocating people from London to Paris, for example. JP Morgan taking out HSBC's office space there. What's the mood in the city of London among the finance professionals? Is it like it's not going to be that bad, or like we still don't know what's going to happen?
More the latter. I was in London for a couple of weeks just at the beginning of the month. I would mention Amsterdam as well as Paris. Many more people speak English there. You've got the Schiphol Airport, which is a very well-connected airport. The general sense is they still don't know exactly what's happening, but most of the large banks are braced for a pretty hard Brexit, which means that they're braced to move a lot of people over to the continent. But 3 or 4 years ago, people were rubbing their hands looking forward to living in Paris on expat contracts for a few years, and it doesn't look as though it's going to work out quite that well for them.
John Authers, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. John Authers is a Bloomberg opinion columnist and senior markets editor for Bloomberg News. Really interesting topic about the whole concept of the privatization of formerly public equity markets. We see it here in the U.S. We see an acceleration of it over in the United Kingdom. And a big part of this has also been a complete transformation in the banking system. And this is interesting to really talk about as we hear from a roster of chief executives of a number of different banks at Davos, which is they've been losing more business actually to some of these private equity and private debt, direct lender type firms that are raising billions and billions of dollars, record amounts of money. How does that change their business model? What exactly is the new paradigm at a time when trading volumes are really moving electronic, the bid to ask spreads shrinking, margins not there?
Yeah, exactly right. And it's the amount of private capital out there. We talk about it all the time. These big firms, it's KKR, Blackstone, raising ever and ever bigger amounts of money. They have to put that to work. We're seeing some pretty good activity. The debt markets are also very open for these private equity folks to lever up these deals. And the net result is, as you mentioned, a kind of a de-equidification of the equity markets around the world.
And the backdrop of this is the very low rates and the compressed yield curve and how people are seeking extra yield. This is definitely going to be an issue for banks, and in particular for Bank of America, one of the biggest lenders, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to be hearing from the chief executive officer coming up here of Bank of America after their earnings. Earnings across the board with a couple exceptions, really good in the U.S. Interesting to hear what you have to say. Right?
Exactly right. So Brian Moynihan, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Bank of America, is with Jonathan Ferro and Tom Keene. They're in Davos talking about the future of global banking. So John Ferro, Tom Keene, Bloomberg Television with Brian Moynihan of Bank of America.
Stocks still up more than 20% in the last 3 months alone. Kara Swisher's back at Post 9. Talk about what we might hear.
Meetings of the World Economic Forum in Davos. I'm Tom Keene with John Ferro. The early evening here in a very different Davos, of course, hours ago. President Trump speaking with optimism on the American economic and political experiment, John. But there's a lot of other themes. Day one, and in 2 days, the themes will change.
We call that victory lap, aren't we?
Yeah, the president. It's a speech I heard many times before. I don't think it was.
Perhaps for domestic consumption.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Why don't you bring our next guest, an esteemed banker from America?
Just a bit. I'm pleased to say that joining us now is Brian Moynihan, the CEO of Bank of America.
Good to see you. Isn't this beautiful up here?
It is absolutely beautiful. So what a way to start with. One of the most annoying questions I know is asked of bankers on Wall Street. The tax savings. Where did the money go? Last year, full year, $18 billion. Top 6 banks on Wall Street. That's what they saved because of the tax cut. Let's talk about it, Brian. Where did it go?
Well, first of all, the reason why we save taxes, we actually pay taxes. And therefore, we still, every quarter, are paying the 18, 19% rate plus the state taxes and stuff in there. So
So, but what do we do with the savings? Well, we made, for the last 3 years, beginning in 17 when it passed, 18 and 19, we've done a bonus program for all our teammates, 95% of teammates, $1,000 in cash, on top of all other compensation you get for people up to one level, and above that, shares of stock equal about 6% of their compensation for 3 years in a row. We can
maybe we should get Brian to be our agent.
I like it.
We use the savings to invest in our teammates in terms of healthcare. We have the teammates who make less than the company. We started about 8 or 9 years ago. The people under 50,000 at that time, 8 or 9 years ago, had not had an increase in their premiums for the last 8 years. The people above that have lesser increases to what they call core rates of inflation and healthcare. We also invested in physical plant. We've built hundreds of new branches. We've remodeled thousands of branches over the last 3 years. We deployed all new ATMs effectively over the last 3 years. But then people say, what do you do with the money? We do $1.7 billion in capital every
How much
year.
do you think the Academy
Then we
Awards
announced we're going to extra $500 million in technology. And so, that provides products and services and capabilities to the company. It also provides jobs because that is all coding. So it's all engineers coding it, whether they work for us or we buy from third parties. So it's all good stuff.
Nothing gets near the, was it $30.9 billion of capital returns to shareholders announced last year, approved last year? Does anything get anywhere near that number?
I think the reality has nothing to do with the tax thing. That has to do with the fact we had more capital and we're earning $28 billion. And so between dividends and capital, we earn a lot of money and we're giving it back to shareholders. But the question is, what would you do with it if you kept it? It would just pile up. We grew loans faster in industry. We grew deposits faster in industry. We have enough capital to serve our core clients. In the last few years, we've overtaken, become the biggest small business lender in the United States. We're 5% of the mortgage market, 12% of the retail market, 13%. So you add that all together, we're serving the clients well. So the capital ought to go back to who owns it.
I don't want to sit here and come across as someone who's against buybacks. I'm certainly not employed to have a position, but for what it's worth, it's not mine. What I'm trying to understand and reconcile is the stakeholder capitalism that has dominated the conversation here, the end of shareholder primacy, and reconciling that with the cold, hard numbers I see on Wall Street every year. Help us do that.
Let's back up. So at the end of the day, 50 years ago, Klaus started with stakeholder capitalism in response to business of businesses business, which was the Milton Friedman paper in that year. He wrote a book. A couple of years later, he puts out the Davos Manifesto. Then 50 years later, he's been seeing these companies. And by the way, all the other participants coming here and talking about how they solve problems. And the power of Davos is convenient. And so when it heights the financial crisis, a chance for the regulators and bankers to talk about how to fix this thing. At different times, different things. So about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the 140 companies signed a statement that said the companies ought to help drive progress on the SDGs. So the simple point is companies have to deliver great returns for their shareholders, a great experience for their customers, and a great experience for their team at the same time and deliver for society. That's stakeholder capitalism. And so Klaus has been after it for a long time. The BRT statement is just really is a statement that was made that codified what we really did. And so I think if you look across the returns, we've delivered great returns for our shareholders. We've delivered a lot of capital return. But we've also delivered a lot at the same time for charity, volunteer work, investment in local communities, hiring 10,000 veterans. These are all things that are enabled by the capitalistic system.
I want to look back, Brian, and look forward to the last 12 months. Of course, all the stocks have done well. The banks have really picked it up nicely. I think people have forgotten in history the debris you picked up when you took over responsibilities for the Bank of America. What did you learn in 07, 08, 09, and even into 10 that you're using now as best practices at Bank of America so history doesn't repeat itself?
I became CEO in 10, so the team had to get together and do two things at once. Keep driving the core business implementation at the same time, continuing to clean up the issues around mortgage and credit card debt and whatever it was. So what we learned, and we actually have a lessons learned, believe it or not. Our Chief Risk Officer, Jeff Greener, is a superb Chief Risk Officer. He goes out and talks individually in small groups with lessons learned. It's all about over-leverage. It's about overextending at the wrong time. It's about reaching the wrong parts of credit segment. It's about over-leveraging companies. And so we try to learn from those lessons. But the main one is balance. Going into the crisis, we were way overweight consumer and way overweight unsecured consumer credit. And a lot of people talk about the mortgage, but we actually charge off $50 billion in credit card debt. And so that's when our credit card doesn't grow quite the same as other people. We are actually keeping that balance relative to the size of the whole $90 billion credit card business, top 2 or 3 in the country, but driven than to maintain excellent credit quality.
Bring the lessons learned forward now to how you're going to deploy for the new technology. I spoke to you in this valley 5, 6, 7 years ago, and you and a few others, including Mr. Diamond, were way out front on the impact of technology within our financial system. What's the lesson learned forward for the deployment of capital with technology?
Three things. One is you got to spend enough to maintain a lead on the competition, and that requires operational efficiency. It allows us to have flat expenses, declining expenses, and that's been the hard work the team's done. $3 billion a year in pure code. This isn't to run the system. This is pure new initiatives. So you have to be able to spend a lot. You have to have good ideas, and you have to. But the key lesson is don't get ahead of the customers and be patient that the customers will come along. So if I were here 5 years ago, we did not have. Or 7 years ago, we did not have mobile check deposit. It's now 25% of all the checks that are deposited. You couldn't get ahead of the customers and try to force them to do it. You have to let it happen, and it's now passed. More checks are deposited by mobile phone for the last maybe 4 or 5 quarters than are deposited at telelines today at our company. And so that's
a piece of paper, John.
I see them much more in the United States than I do back in the UK.
Our customers wrote $700 million on them last year, so that's not a small number, just a consumer customer. So it's a big deal. But the idea in technology, invest heavily, keep the trust. That's a cybersecurity expenditure, which over that time period probably went from a couple $100 million to almost $900 million this year. And on top of that, drive your competitive advantage.
Let's get some hard numbers on the consumer business. I believe it was an interview with the FT. You said the following: our market share in consumer 12, 13, 14%, depending on who counts. The reality is you could double that. Do you want to double that? And when?
We want to drive it forward. The context of that was, are you too big and you have to go outside the United States to do something? And the answer is no, we don't. There's such opportunity in the United States because even though our market share is high, in the top 30 markets in the U.S., we're the top market share in retail banking in 12 of them. The nearest, I think, is 6 next to us. But the reality is, up until 2 years ago, we weren't in 7 of them. So if we just fill out those 7 to be like the other markets, that's a lot of growth, and we can do that all over the U.S. So
double this organically.
The context is we have gone from probably 10 to 15% across the last few years, and so you can think of this as a challenge to my team and consumer. Get with it. Let's double it. But the reality is, it's a response to how much opportunity there is in the United States left for Bank of America.
For years, you've talked about responsible growth. Let's talk about the leverage loan business. Almost every week, there's a new shop with concerns about leverage loans. You've got great insight into this area of the market. Walk us through what you're seeing at the moment.
Don't go anywhere with that. In the end of the day, going back to Tom's point, over leverage is over leverage, and when the economy slows down, those companies are most exposed. That's banking 101. The reality is our on-balance sheet exposure in those things is measured carefully. It's very low, very low. The real question for the economy and what through different groups they're talking about is a lot of it's in funds and other types of support. And what will happen when those companies don't fare well? Will those funds work with them the way the banks would work with them in terms of working them out as opposed to just closing them up? The other question is, in a net asset value context, i.e. their liability structure moves down with the assets, that feels good at the moment. But when you trade it from that person at 60 cents on the dollar, the next person, what's the next person do with it? And those kinds of questions are open. And what would be the impact on economy? Our actual leverage lending is a very small part of our on-balance sheet credit exposure.
Everybody wants to dive into this. Everybody wants to get into wealth management. Of course, you with the Merrill Lynch platform and all that. But right now, what I see is everybody out there wants to be a banker. Goldman Sachs wants to set up banking. How do you respond to whether it's in the internet technology or it's more traditional investment houses that want to get into the bigger platform? Do your scale and scope, do they understand the scale you need to succeed at this?
Well, I think that you need the scale to be good, and that's what we keep talking about. Is we don't need our scale. We need our scale to actually do a great job for our consumers and our companies, and so that scale allows us to keep investing at a rate, and I think will make us extremely leaders in competition as far as we can see. When other people want to get in the business, they see profits, they see profit margins, they see things, and I can understand it. But it's not as easy as they think to operate 66 million consumers who are doing millions and millions of transactions. We have $3 billion of payments that go through on the consumer side in a year. $3 trillion, excuse me. $3 trillion. To keep that all straight and make sure it all happens, gets into your account.
News from CNN, MSNBC,
That's not bad, is it?
CNBC,
and so it runs through there. And by the way, Erica, which has 10 million users now, that's somebody talking to a artificial intelligence voice recognition machine that will translate your request.
Are you curious what others are listening to on TuneIn? Head to the trending section
your one
under
account out of your 10 accounts, finding that one transaction. These are remarkable things we're investing in. That's why we got to keep investing in technology.
Market share. You just keep seeing the US players take market share from Europe. It's a story that Tom and I talk about almost on a weekly basis now. What is it that gives you guys such a great position to take market share away from some of the European players?
Or in the pure markets business, which is what you're referring to, because we don't operate consumer outside the space or wealth management. But in the pure sense of the markets, what you have in our company is a great fixed income platform and a great equities platform by the heritage of the two companies. Bank of America was a big fixed income house. Merrill coming together 10 years ago. Tom Montag's done a great job of running it. What we really have is scale to offset the day's ups and downs. So last quarter, everybody was euphoric. Go back a year before, everybody was pessimistic. But the reality is that business earns $600, $700 million, $1 billion a quarter for us. Wealth management earns $1 billion. Commercial banking earns a couple billion plus. Retail earns 3 or 4. So you have the stability, and that's what makes us competitive. Is we can extract the value of business across all these other businesses. The research platform, Forex Wealth Management, Candace Browning Platt, #1 research platform, going into wealth management. That scale allows us to be competitive, and I think and we can balance it off. It's only a third of our balance sheet. Other people's 90% that are in the business. That's a trickier execution.
We're going to rip up the script here as we near the end of this conversation. And I want to talk about not so much the past, but the branding and marketing forward. The Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation has an image of branding that goes back to the 19th century. Bank of America, certainly a modern Bank of America that you were given a responsibility for, in the minds of people in San Francisco, the Carolinas, Boston, and the rest, piecing it together. How are you going to brand forward the image of the Bank of all of America?
Well, the Bank of America has also been operating since the first bank to operate in Japan. 70 years in China. I think 60 or 70 in Mexico. 100 years in Argentina, probably, or something like that. So it's been operating all over the world. And so the idea is Bank of America stands for excellent service for clients, institutional clients, and retail clients. It stands for, we want it to stand for stability and knowledge and intelligence, and we'll be with you and stick with you through thick or thin. And that's what we've been after. And so the brand that we have is a strong brand, and our customer score is the highest on all businesses, and it's a great company, and I have the honor of running it for a while.
Brian, got to wrap things up by talking about.
There's some news there for a while.
A while in the context of a 230-year history. It's just a while.
A year, a while, 5 years. Is there something there we can go to here?
Everybody asks me that. It's like they want to get rid of me. I'm happy doing this job, and as long as the board will have me, I'm good.
But if the Red Sox want you to manage, you'll take it, right?
There was one thing I'm probably not competent to do for sure, and that's the Red Sox man.
Brian, final word on the politics. I'm sure he is. Going into election season, is Wall Street going to become a political football again?
Look, we serve society. Society is the voting populace. It's always going to be in that, and it hasn't changed for years. And when people ask me about the things going on, they say, how about those elections? How tough is it going to be? I said, well, the one in 1800 was pretty tough. We were there then, and we're there now. So it's part of doing what we all do, which is run companies that society depends on to help fuel the economy. Therefore, we have regulation. Therefore, we can get caught in the discussion. But that's part of life.
Brian Moynihan, thank you for joining us today. Brian Moynihan of the Bank of America.
Thank you so much, John and Tom. A great interview with Brian Moynihan, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Bank of America, over in Davos, talking about a wide range of issues, from the tax cuts and what they did with the money, to leveraged loans, to the consumer, to the concept of preparing for the next downturn, the preparation that goes into that, saying that really some of the headlines, just to give you a sense, is that Bank of America does see room to grow in the United States, and that the consumer unit could aim to double its market share in the United States. Kind of interesting, given how much it's grown already.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, that's been a controversial strategy, because, I mean, there's a lot of good competition in the United States. It's one thing to grow your market share. The U.S. banks outside of the U.S., but it's another thing to grow inside. Just looking at the stock, it's up about 20% over the trailing 12 months, kind of trailing some of the more money center banks, are up a little bit closer to 30%.
Yeah, meanwhile, if you look at markets, NASDAQ now flat. So the direction is continuing to just sort of melt up from the earlier lows that we saw off the declines from earlier. Right now, let's get a check on all those numbers. John Tucker has that for a Bloomberg Business Flash. John.
And not only flat, but now it's in the green as you were talking. So yeah, to some extent, Lisa, Paul, technology to the rescue. Industrial shares, they in fact paced the declines in the broader index, the S&P 500. It gains in tech, helping limit the pull after those declines in Asia and Europe that was triggered by those reports that there's the respiratory virus, deadly respiratory virus that's spreading in China. Shares in Hong Kong, they were hardest hit, and also the luxury stocks had their biggest drop since October. We have right now the Dow Jones Industrial Average 47 points lower. That's down 0.2% at 29,300. The S&P 500 is down about 4 points. That's down 0.1% at 33.25. And the tech-heavy Nasdaq is up just shy of 1 point, 93.89. Among the stocks giving a lift to the tech sector, Microsoft shares up about 0.5%. Intel also up about 2% right now. And as we look at treasuries, the 10-year yield 177, the price up by 12.30 seconds. We check the markets for you every 15 minutes during the trading day right here on Bloomberg Radio. I'm John Tucker, and that is your Bloomberg Business Flash.
John Tucker, thank you so much for that. Right now, we are expecting to hear from Carrie Lam, who's the chief executive of Hong Kong, and I think it's an incredibly timely interview, given the fact that yesterday Moody's downgraded Hong Kong's rating to AA3, which was very interesting, and changed the outlook to stable, but still a downgrade. That's interesting. Also, we have the coronavirus, which has potential to impact particularly consumer sectors and travel sectors. We're seeing that today in the stocks. A lot of questions. And then, of course, the big sort of elephant in the room, or it's not an elephant, it's really just a screaming lion, is the relationship between Beijing and Hong Kong at a time of growing tension.
Yeah, a tremendous amount of instability in that part of the world, and that the virus that we're just learning about really over the last several days is just it's something that part of the world certainly did not need. But we've seen for months and months now the protests within Hong Kong. I think it's really taken people by surprise. The staying power of those protests. It was initially I thought it might be a weekend or a week or a couple of weeks, but it's now been several months here, and it's pretty consistent here. And the question is, to what degree will China take a harder stand against Hong Kong? To date, I would argue it appears they've taken a relatively light touch and let Hong Kong deal with it themselves. But the question is the position of Carrie Lam, how much support does she have from Beijing? So it's a very timely discussion with Carrie Lam with Bloomberg Television coming up.
And just anecdotally, friends who I know who live there have been talking about how there has been a noticeable shift in the mood, that Hong Kong traditionally has a history and a culture of protest, sort of to distinguish itself from the mainland, to show that it is independent. It was a British, it was connected with the British Empire. It was British colonies.
That's right.
Broke off, but it was considered somewhat independent of China, so that the financial centers could use it in a different kind of way. Beijing has been clamping down for a while, changing that, and people are wondering at what point this will completely transform Hong Kong into yet another city of China, and what that could mean in terms of different freedoms and different norms that are different from what you see on the mainland. This has sort of been an ongoing debate, but the question that I have is, how much has this actually impacted the economy? We are seeing signs of a potential recession induced by some of the protests and people not being able to get to work. But going forward, property developers, are they not going to come? Are banks not going to expand as much in Hong Kong? Some open questions.
Yeah, I think it's been such a wonderful, vibrant market for decades, in part because of foreign investment. And companies have felt, and corporate, just companies in general have felt comfortable investing in Hong Kong and using Hong Kong as a foothold or a base with which to make investments and expand into Greater China as China continues to open up. It was a wonderful opportunity, and I think that's why we've seen, that's one of the reasons we've seen extraordinary growth coming out of Hong Kong over the last 4 or 5 decades. But I was there during the handover in the late 90s, and people were very, very concerned, even back then, how long will it take before mainland China takes a much heavier hand to the UK, to Hong Kong. And to my, I think, surprise a little bit, they basically honored the agreement. And I think it's just the last couple of years, there's might have been a little bit of a move that has some people concerned within Hong Kong.
And the idea that they've honored the agreement, has this stemmed from a recognition that it benefits them to have a city with those types of open borders and open financial systems so that other companies could come in? I mean, isn't that part of it?
I think so. I think that's clearly what, particularly as China there over the last 20 years, 25, 30 years has begun to open up itself on the mainland. One could argue that having a Hong Kong tied closely to China, a good working relationship was a net positive as it relates to attracting foreign investment and so on. But again, I think that's kind of been the thinking for the optimists there, that it does benefit both sides. But again, a concern, particularly as you think about some of the tensions with Taiwan, is that something we can bank on long term? And I think generally it's worked out as well as anybody could expect since the handover. But again, some of these changes in the last couple of years as it relates to extradition for criminal issues back to mainland China and so on, that's kind of been one of the tipping points for some protesters to say, okay, things seem to be changing a little bit. We don't like the way they're changing. They're drifting a little bit more towards mainland China, and that's an issue.
Yeah, indeed. Right now, let's just shift gears. UBS coming out, considering the fact that we heard from Bank of America CEO and Citi's CEO earlier today. Alison Williams of Bloomberg Intelligence joining us now just quickly to get a view on UBS, which came out with a disappointing earnings report, in particular with respect to its wealth management unit, which surprised me. Did that surprise you too, Alison?
With 2 years interest-free
credit and your boiler installed by one of our expert engineers. Moderated
Plus,
growth
you'll get a 5-year British gas warranty. And we can even quote by video call after work or on weekends. Get a quote by the 29th of February, and you can also get £200 off the new boiler, or £400 off for our existing home care customers. Search British Gas New Boiler.
French fine related to taxes.
Today is your day.
And while that's under appeal,
grab the bull of opportunity
it's very
by
unclear
the
what they'll
horns
end
of
up paying. It could take years
because
and
there's
years
2
and years.
years in future.
It does
Which
seem
do you
like
want
a
to be?
prudent idea to
the motivation to Vitality.
do everything you can to make sure
With our
that
life
your dividends
insurance, you
are a
could save
level
up to 40%
that
on
you're
a
not going to
Garmin
have to cut
for a
them.
little nudge to exercise a bit
73 cents
more.
is a
Now
little bit
that's
light
real
of 74
motivation.
cents
Search
expected by
Vitality
consensus.
Life. Life's better with
Guiding
Vitality.
for 1
Variable
cent
discount.
growth,
Postage and packaging
so
terms
the minimum
and
amount
conditions
of growth
apply.
while still having growth for next year, completing their buyback program, so delivering on all of those targets, and then saying, they'll sort of reassess things mid-year based on, I think the word they use is idiosyncratic factors, but basically referring to that piece, and then also the environment.
So, Alison, you've explained to us, over the months and quarters and years, European banks, really facing some unique competitive issues. Where does UBS fit in there? I presume it's a better position than, say, a Deutsche Bank. But where does UBS fit in?
So it's interesting because this quarter, fixed income trading, which has been an area that UBS pulled back on long ago, turned out to be a good decision for them. It's more capital intensive, the returns are lower. It's not been a great business, but in this particular quarter, that is really where you're seeing the strength. So JP Morgan, kicked off numbers, as you know, with a huge beat.
We'll see what CEO Reed Hastings says about the impact of his investment in new originals, such as The Irishman, and how much more Netflix will have to increase its content spending to compete with Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, and then the coming launches of HBO Max and NBC Universal's Peacock service. But this will be the first quarter that Netflix brings down its subscriber additions by based on region around the world, and it will also combine US and Canada. Now,
even though they're pulling back on investment banking in general, still an important business. Can they show some upside? And the fact that the U.S. peers are talking about sort of broad strength, but also areas like credit, which are good for Deutsche Bank, currencies which are not as
revenue by 30% to $5.45 billion.
So again, so they shared the FIC upside. Their equities trading business, I would say, about kept pace. So
now,
up
David
2%
Einhorn's Greenlight
versus
Capital
3%
just
of the
today
U.S.
announcing
peers.
they've
Equity
their
fees,
short
they were the
position
only
in
bank
Netflix.
aside from
He
Morgan
says that
Stanley
while
to beat all
Netflix will
investment
be able to
banking
continue
fees
to grow
line.
its
So
international subscribers,
really keeping pace in those areas.
Thank you so much. Allison Williams of Bloomberg Intelligence. Always wonderful to get your perspective with the BS shares today. Down 4.4%, traded in Switzerland on the heels of that report. Right now, we want to head back to Davos, where we have Carrie Lam, who is the chief executive of Hong Kong, who is going to be speaking with Haslinda Amin of Bloomberg Television, joining us for some of the key questions as Beijing and Hong Kong face off with some of the biggest protests since the breakaway, since the late 1990s. Right now, let's head over to Haslinda Amin with Carrie Lam of Hong Kong. Over to you.
We have a greater concern around the first quarter subscriber guidance. That 8.5 million number would be the third
Welcome back to the World Economic Forum here in Davos to a combined Bloomberg television and radio audiences. Joining me now is Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam. Chief Executive, good to have you with us. Hong Kong has been rocked by protests since June, sinking the economy into recession, the city into turmoil. Your government has focused pretty much on inequality, so economic issues, for instance, but the protesters have said what they're concerned about is democracy, China's tightened grip on the country. How do you hope to address those concerns without a political solution?
Well, there is no truth in the allegation that the central government is tightening its grip on Hong Kong. The central government has time and again made it very clear that they want Hong Kong to succeed under one country, two systems, and a high degree of autonomy. That was made very clear to me by President Xi Jinping on 3 occasions that I met him in a couple of months' time. Okay. This social unrest was caused or triggered by the government attempt to introduce amendments to the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance. But I have almost immediately suspended the exercise following the mass confrontation in the Legislative Council. So one has to wonder what are the underlying factors that have caused this sustained social unrest for the last few months. So if you said that it is about political reforms, yes, we, myself included, are very keen to have universal suffrage in the selection of a chief executive. And we did make a very serious attempt in 2014 and 2015 to give people of Hong Kong one person, one vote to select the chief executive. But that has to take place within the legal framework as laid down in the basic law.
Universal suffrage
does not have the kind of shelf life
of a TV series. Can there be a compromise, and how soon can there be?
Well, it depends on whether we could build consensus on this very important issue within a framework laid down in the basic law. Now, people said that they respect and uphold the basic law because it protects the freedoms and the rights of people. But at the same time, the basic law has a very specific Article 45, which made it very clear that, yes, the ultimate goal is to have universal suffrage in the selection of a chief executive. But when that happens, it has to take place through a nominating committee, which is properly representative. And that, I suppose, when the basic law was drafted, was intended to ensure the long-term public interest.
Has made clear that it will observe universal suffrage if the candidates are approved by China. But the protesters say they want the right to nominate those candidates. I mean, how do you bridge the two?
No, I was involved actually to design the actual proposal within that framework as laid down by the National People's Congress Standing Committee. I wouldn't say that framework required approval by the central government as far as the candidates are concerned. That detailed proposal says that, yes, you could have universal suffrage. There should be 2 or 3 candidates to be put forward by a broadly representative nominating committee. And the nominating committee's broad representation comes from the different sectors. It's not entirely within sort of Beijing loyalists. You have professional people, you have representatives from the trade unions, from the business sector. But ultimately, there is, of course, another basic law provision that the chief executive has to be appointed by the Central People's Government.
What you're saying is the Hong Kong people can nominate
through the nominating committee. The Hong Kong people, under the respective constituents, will elect this 1,200-member nominating committee, and the nominating committee will then nominate 2 or 3 candidates to be put forward for universal suffrage.
What's been the directive from China when it comes to resolving the conflict that you have in Hong Kong right now?
I have to make it very clear that under one country, two systems, the central government has given us this high degree of autonomy to deal with this social unrest and this crisis. So they have not given any explicit directive on how to handle it, except that they have made it very clear that the solution also has to abide by one country, two systems. You can't go beyond the constitutional requirement to solve this issue. Similarly, domestically, I couldn't go beyond the rule of law to solve this political crisis.
Why have you resisted calling for an independent inquiry as suggested, as demanded by the protesters? Is there something you're concerned about?
I am concerned about fairness and justice as far as police operations and police behavior are concerned. Hong Kong does have an equally independent and statutory mechanism to deal with that. That has been fully debated when that particular piece of legislation, the Independent Police Complaints Council Ordinance, was enacted. That police will be subject to investigation on individual complaints.
But why not an independent body? The bodies that you suggested have been said to lack investigative powers. Why not an independent
Jaguar E-Pace, designed to steal
body
attention.
to do that?
Search Jaguar
Now, one of the important principles that I have adhered to in dealing with this very difficult situation is we need to protect the institutional strengths of Hong Kong and to uphold the rule of law. So if we have already an independent statutory mechanism to deal with that sort of situation, and that mechanism must be put in place for a very good reason in the overall interest of Hong Kong, then simply because I need to respond to protesters' demands, and by the way, they have other demands which nobody could agree to. For example, an amnesty for everyone that has been arrested, committing very serious crimes of assaulting the police, arson, throwing petrol bombs at bystanders, and even setting an old man on fire. So, similarly, to answer your question, am I going to respond to those political demands in order to solve this problem?
But don't the protesters have the basis for the grievances against the police for the force that's been used
You might
on
already
the
know
people?
that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro
Well, one
sports
has
leagues
to
wherever
look
you
at
go.
the perspective.
But did you know TuneIn is also
I'm
home to
afraid
the
that
wide
in
world
many
of
of the
college
reports
sports?
that many people have watched, they were based on certain video clips and a particular still photo, and came to the conclusion that there has been some wrongdoings by the police. But if you look at the overall context, the police were there enforcing the law. The police were there dealing with large numbers of protesters who are so ready to resort to violence. 10,000 petrol bombs.
You acknowledge there's been wrongdoing, yet only one policeman has been taken to task. No one is suspended. I mean, how do you explain that?
I'm not accepting that there has been wrongdoing. I'm telling you that if there are wrongdoings by policemen in the course of law enforcement, these policemen will similarly be subject to the scrutiny of the law. They are not above the law. We have seen that happening during Occupy Central movement and other protests. 8 policemen have been prosecuted, convicted, and imprisoned. So we do have that system, a fair system in place. So we could not just throw away a system and then bring in another system. I have to ask myself whether that's in the overall interest of Hong Kong.
Are you willing to take those who've done wrong to task?
Hong Kong abides by the rule of law. It's not a question of the willingness.
Do you see that happening?
It has to be subject to detailed investigation investigation. And by the way, if I may just clarify, under the Basic Law, that's a very important document, the chief executive does not have any say over prosecution.
And I think at Davos,
prosecution decisions are made by the Department of Justice without any interference, and then cases are brought before the courts, which are truly independent.
Chief Executive, when you take a look at your popularity, it's dropped to about 14%. Why do you think you're so unpopular?
Think about it. We were
have people misunderstood you?
No, what we have seen is really unprecedented. I have to admit that, and I have confessed and I have taken full responsibility for misjudgment and for the sort of lack of a full assessment of the situation in taking forward the bill. But let me make it very clear, hand on my heart, that bill was well intended to ensure that Hong Kong could discharge her international obligations in tackling serious crime, and also to plug a loophole in our existing legal regime, which inhibits us from having any legal assistance on criminal matters that have anything to do with other parts of China.
You have said you're willing to quit if you could. Would you quit if that could help resolve the crisis in Hong Kong?
You look at bond yields. For a while,
it is not difficult to quit, but walking away from such a big dilemma and problem now is, in my view, not very responsible. So
that is one of the demands of the protesters, that you resign. Would you, if it is for Hong Kong?
My judgment and my decision is right now, because we have several crises that we need to manage at the same time, I will do my utmost to stay in this position to help arrest the current situation.
Who do you think could be the right person to replace you if you were to go?
I don't know. This is not a question that you should ask me.
I want to take a look at the economy. It's sunk into a recession, and some say that the stimulus you've implemented, well, some call it peanuts, not enough to pull the country out of the recession.
No, those four rounds of measures introduced and announced by the financial secretary are really relief measures. They are there to support the companies, especially the small and medium enterprises, so that we could preserve as many jobs as possible. They are there to provide relief to the disadvantaged, for example, by giving them extra social security assistance. Ultimately, to take Hong Kong out of the economic difficulties requires, first of all, stability. Secondly is early restoration of law and order. And thirdly is continued government investment in important sectors. For example, innovation and technology. We have done pretty well on this new sector, innovation and technology, in the last couple of years by investing 100 billion, by the way, Hong Kong dollars, building hardware and software. And these are the things we'll continue to do.
What would make you dig deeper into your reserves
before you leave? We are ready.
But it's not enough. I mean, the economy is in recession, and we've had Moody's downgrading Hong Kong. You must be concerned, and more needs to be done.
Well, we certainly agree that more needs to be done, and that's why a week ago I announced a package of livelihood improvement measures that will dig deep into the reserves, because that will cause another 10 billion Hong Kong dollars on an annual basis, providing more retirement protection for elderly people and providing more support for the non-skilled laborers. What more could be done in terms of the economy is to identify the strengths of Hong Kong and to continue to take those sectors forward. For example, financial services. That has grown pretty well in 2019 despite the difficulties, and we are expecting 2020 not to be a bad year. We will continue to capitalize on the continuous opening up and reform of the Chinese economy, especially in financial services, because Hong Kong is a gateway to mainland China, and we have this international connectivity to bring mainland enterprises also to the outside world.
Adding to the strains is the China virus. I mean, that has caused the Hang Seng Index to drop 2% alone today. How closely are you watching it? How concerned are you about it?
Well, I am very concerned And from the 31st of December, when the first notification came, Hong Kong has already put in place a highly vigilant system, because we learned from previous incidents over SARS and other infectious diseases that in order to bring the community together to control any infectious diseases, we have to be very vigilant, sometimes doing more than we should. We have to be very transparent with the people so that they know exactly what is the situation, so that there will not be unnecessary fear and anxiety. So my colleagues, the Secretary for Food and Health, has been hosting almost daily meetings with the experts, and we will continue to exercise that high level of vigilance. But at the same time, we have to plan for the worst. Now, up till now, we have not had a single case of confirmed coronavirus yet, but we have been warning people
that it
could come anytime.
Are you confident China can contain it?
According to the Wall Street Journal,
even the WHO has said that they're pretty assured by the measures taken, and I understand there will be a video conference between the mainland authorities and the World Health Organization, and Hong Kong will continue to receive through the established notification mechanism the latest information, and our experts will continue to advise us on the necessary measures to be taken. But this really requires community efforts, and we are appealing to the people of Hong Kong that it's better to plan and to be very cautious in order that we could prevent the spread of these diseases.
Has anything been learned from the SARS outbreak that can be implemented to ensure there's no contagion?
We have learned a great deal from the SARS incident. We have put in place contingency plans in the hospital authority. We have provided, when needed, more isolation facilities. We have planned contingency measures for isolation facilities. We have sort of stocked up all these needed equipment and the materials. So I hope very much that what we have learned in the past could help us to overcome this public health challenge.
Chief Executive, before we let you go, what do you hope would be the Carrie Lam legacy?
That's interesting. There's been a lot of back and forth.
This is my 40th year in the public service, so this has been a lifelong career for me to serve the people of Hong Kong. And I hope that people will remember, in whichever position, facing whatever difficulties, my heart goes to the people of Hong Kong, and I will continue to serve the people of Hong Kong.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam, thank you so much for your insights today.
Whatever job you're searching
there you have it.
Find it on LinkedIn.
We've just heard from the Chief Executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam.
That was Carrie Lam, Chief Executive Officer of Hong Kong Special Administration Region, speaking to our Bloomberg Television's Aslinda Amin, talking about a wide range of topics. I thought a very hard-hitting discussion about the future of Hong Kong, the one country, two systems that has really been the underpinning of Hong Kong as it has come back to China, or it's broken away from the UK. Talk about the protesters and the police, and will anybody be held accountable on the side of the police? And then, of course, talking about the economics of this unrest, which has pushed Hong Kong into recession, resulted in a downgrade from Moody's, as they were discussing.
Yeah, and Carrie Lam saying that she was implementing, she proposed just in the past week or so, some quality of life measures, but still the protests ongoing. It has not subsided. And as Aslinda Amin really pointed out, her popularity rating has absolutely plummeted, and there's a question, does she have the credibility and the support of the populace to be able to carry through measures that actually will solidify the economy, mend ties with Beijing, while also mollifying the populace? A pretty tough nut to crack.
Yeah, talking about a 14% approval rating, and Aslinda, asked the absolute correct question is, would you step down if that meant, easing some of the tensions within the country? Who do you think should replace you? Should you be replaced? So there's no answers, but this is going to be an ongoing issue, and of course, Bloomberg has fantastic coverage based on the ground in Hong Kong. This is Bloomberg.
So no matter where you are,
in addition to Bloomberg Radio, you can catch the latest news and biggest newsmakers on Bloomberg Television. Look for us on DirecTV channel 353 or check your local listings.
From anywhere. This is not a cat.
Could you leave
this is not a rocket. And this is not a sale.
And it's so simple,
That's
you can
right.
install it
At
yourself in minutes.
Mobile, we're
See,
not
hear,
having
and
a
speak
sale.
to whoever's
While
at your
others are
door
slashing
from wherever
prices,
you are.
we're
With Ring
introducing our
Video
best
Doorbell.
ever new
Available
plans.
at ring.com
Take our new
and selected
30 gig data
retailers.
SIM for just
A lot of
£10
people
a month.
aren't aware that
Unlimited
TuneIn lets you
calls and
listen to the
texts,
same
no
terrestrial
restrictions,
stations that you
credit
pick
checks
up
or
on your
contract
FM
tying you down.
and dial.
Why shop
Except
around?
you can hear them from
New
anywhere.
plans,
To see
great
all the
value.
stations
Now
broadcasting
that's
in your
smart.
area, find
Grab
the
yours
local
today
radio
at
section on
Smarty
the home
Mobile.
screen. Keep it local with
Smarty.co.uk for
TuneIn.
terms.
Keys. Check.
On this week's On the Media, we peel away the many layers
70s
of the
playlist
Warren
downloaded.
Sanders sexism sideshow.
The first layer is,
Nice.
can we acknowledge
There's one
that in a
more thing you
country that
should
has
check before
only
you leave.
elected male
Your
presidents
travel.
throughout its history?
There's a new
that
cycleway under
gender
construction
is a
between
factor.
Kensington Olympia
Also,
and Brentford Town Centre.
by
So
politics?
expect
We
delays
have a
due to
plan
lane
for that.
closures at the junction
Listen
of
to
Kew
On the
Bridge
Media
Road
from
and Chiswick High Road.
WNYC.
Plan ahead at
Listen to the On the Media podcast
to the Mayor of
on
London and
TuneIn
TfL.
today.
Every journey matters.
Look at that. A riveting quest.
A
glorious
mission,
opportunity.
as far as we can tell. That's according to Elon Musk after
Yet
SpaceX
he remains
completed a crucial
unfazed by the
safety test
challenge,
on Sunday,
wavering
bringing the
at
company
nothing.
and NASA closer to renewed
Please
human
keep it down.
spaceflight from
We're in the
U.S.
quiet
soil,
area.
something that hasn't happened since 2011.
Here we are.
For the in-flight
moment of
abort
truth.
test, SpaceX essentially blew
Instant
up a Falcon 9
excitement
rocket
with scratch
about
cards
12
from the
miles
National
above the
Lottery.
Atlantic
Your
Ocean,
numbers make amazing
as its
happen.
unmanned
Search
Crew
Dream
Dragon
big, play
capsule
small.
detached
Rules and
at more
procedures
than double
apply.
the speed of
Players must be
sound.
16
At
or over.
131,000 feet, or
Chilly
about
January
twice the
days in
altitude of a
London are
commercial
tough
jet
enough
liner.
without a broken
Parachutes
boiler.
deployed,
Keep your
Crew
home
Dragon
warm and
landed in the
working this
ocean,
winter with 2 years
demonstrating
interest-free credits
in
and
the
your
event,
boiler installed by
that
one
in
of
the
our
event of a launch
expert
failure of
engineers.
flight,
Plus,
astronauts
you'll get
have
a
been on board,
5-year British gas
they would have been
warranty.
safe.
And we can even quote
Why
by
this is
video
such a
call
big deal.
after work
For
or on
SpaceX, the next
weekends.
step
Get a
is
quote by the
humans
29th of
getting on
February,
board to
and you can
fly
also
to the
get
International
£200
Space
off a
Station
new
for
boiler
NASA, and
or
what will be the
£400
final
off for our
test
existing
mission
home
before
care
Crew Dragon
customers.
technically
Search
becomes
British Gas new
operational.
boiler.
That
Conditions
SpaceX
apply.
crewed flight Demo 2 is now
Peoples of
expected
London.
in the early
Cooking
second
for family
quarter.
and
This is
friends
all
is
data
a real
dependent and comes
hassle,
after
Sergey tells
the
me.
other
So
contractor
I,
in NASA's
Alexander,
commercial crew program,
occasionally
Boeing,
take care
experienced
of
a mission
marvelous dinner
mishap
for
during its
all
own
family, which
uncrewed
means
test
we
flight
all go
of
out
its
for meerkat
Starliner
meals.
capsule.
Exactly.
Just last
How did you
month.
guess?
So
Get
Carl,
2
I've
for
been
1 on
talking
food
about
for
this
up
for
to 6
years,
people
but
at your
finally it
local
looks like
favorites, like
2020
cut
could
and
actually
grind
truly
with
be
meerkat
the
meals
year
when you buy
the
so compares
astronauts
the market.
launch back into orbit from U.S. soil.
That's certainly Musk's goal. A couple of years ago, his timelines on human flight
The world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Things to watch this year for SpaceX.
Amazing story. Meantime, the markets today are down. Session one was down 112. So we've erased about 100 points of that. I was looking at month-to-date gains beyond meats of
From Washington to our TV and radio audiences worldwide, I'm David Weston. Welcome to a special edition of Balance of Power, where the world of politics meets the world of business. Well, just under an hour from right now, the United States Senate will begin the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump, when the presiding officer, that is Chief Justice John Roberts, gavels the proceedings to order. On the agenda today is Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's proposed rules for the proceedings. From now until the trial is completed and verdict rendered on whether the president will remain in office, the Senate will be in session 6 days a week. We have reports now from Emily Wilkins of Bloomberg Government up on Capitol Hill, and from Anna Edgerton, our Congress editor. So, Anna, let's start with you. What has happened today? What do we know today that we didn't know yesterday?
Making big calls on the market.
So we've gotten some statements from the House managers that are going to be prosecuting that case in the Senate. They've said that not only are the rules that McConnell put out unfair, but they've also challenged Pat Cipollone, one of the White House counsel who's going to be part of President Trump's impeachment team. They asked him whether or not he should in fact be part of that team, since they said he should be a fact witness in this trial, since he was involved in some of the allegations that President Trump is dealing with. We also have complaints from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer about these rules and set out in McConnell's resolution. We expect to see some amendments from him today when the Senate trial gets underway.
And as you know well, one of the issues here is bipartisanship versus partisanship. We also heard from Adam Schiff, who's the lead manager for the House, and he had this to say about how this is different from the Clinton impeachment.
Fiscal mix in history.
In the Clinton trial, both Senate leadership worked out a bipartisan proposal for how the trial would be conducted. That obviously has not happened here. Senator McConnell did not consult at all with Senator Schumer on the contents of this text. I would imagine that Senator Schumer only got to see it probably around the same time that we did in the House.
We have the exact same metrics today.
And as far as we know, were there any efforts made at all to try to bring about bipartisanship when it comes to the rules that will be considered today?
or party.
No, and we were looking for that when we first got back from recess over the holidays. We were looking for a meeting between Schumer and McConnell to kind of reach an agreement on what the rules would look like as they did in the Clinton case, but that didn't happen. They were both in the Capitol building at the same time and didn't end up meeting. So now we have this partisan resolution that's put forth by McConnell. Not only does it not have Democratic support, but Mitch McConnell said that he was going to coordinate very closely with the White House, work hand in glove with the White House, essentially the defendant in the trial, to set out the rules.
Okay, let's go up to Capitol Hill now, and Emily Wilkins. So, Emily, you're up there. Give us a sense of what the atmosphere is like. What do you expect between now and 1 o'clock Eastern time when they gavel in the Senate?
So this morning has been definitely an era of formality up here on Capitol Hill. We've seen a number of senators begin to come in today. As you alluded to, we've already seen statements made by Adam Schiff, who is a House impeachment manager, as well as head of the Intelligence Committee, and Chuck Schumer, both coming out, both saying that the process that's going to be voted on today is not fair and should not be compared to what was done for the Clinton impeachment. But at this point, I think we're all in a bit of a waiting pattern. Everyone knows that this starts at 1 p.m., and so I think there's a sense that we're all very eager to see this get underway.
We are eager to see again what you refer to formality, Emily. Is there any suspense? Is it pretty clear that Majority Leader McConnell will get his way on these rules?
I think the vote today, McConnell has been saying for a while that he has had the 51 votes needed for this to pass. But then there remain a lot of other questions on what else we're going to see as the trial continues. Are we going to wind up seeing witnesses? Are the House documents going to eventually be put into the record? These are things that will need to be voted on, and we've seen a couple senators in the past few weeks, Senator Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, come out and say that they would be open to potentially having witnesses. And so we're going to be watching every single vote to see where some Republicans and maybe even some Democrats might break with their party.
And as I understand, we may have to wait if Mitch McConnell gets his way to decide whether we'll hear witnesses or get documents in. But in the meantime, some people are saying, are they serious about really going 24 hours over 2 days? They're going to go from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 days straight? Is that serious?
Upside from current levels.
Well, you've isolated the two things that the two main complaints that Chuck Schumer had with this resolution. The time frame with which they can use their 24 hours of arguments, and also the question of witnesses. At this point, we're looking to moderate Republicans to see if they're going to join with Schumer on an amendment we expect him to offer to extend the time over which they can use their 24 hours of argument. So far, we don't have any indication that there will be Republicans that would make that case, although it's not a good look for Senate Republicans, especially those running for re-election, to conduct this trial kind of in the dark of night. And as we get into the wee hours of the morning, there's going to be an argument that Senate Republicans want to hide this from the American people. And so there could be some interest in actually drawing this out over a few more days and doing it at more respectable hours.
3 years after that. Okay, many thanks now to Bloomberg congressional editor Anna Edgerton right here in Washington, and also to Emily Wilkins. She's Bloomberg governor congressional reporter up on Capitol Hill. And now we want to bring in our panel of experts. Rick Davis, Bloomberg contributor and former campaign manager for Senator John McCain's presidential campaign. And David Goodfriend, he's former deputy staff secretary to President Bill Clinton. So welcome both of you. Rick, let me start with you. Mitch McConnell seems to have the votes. He says he has the votes. Are there any risks for the majority leader?
Sure. I mean, along the way, there are going to be these amendments that Chuck Schumer is going to offer, and any given time in those amendment process, he could have a couple, 3 Republican senators switch sides and vote for those amendments, which would change some of the course of the conduct of the trial. So he knows he has that risk. In fact, some members of leadership have told me that they're not sure how long this trial is going to last, that they'd love to get it done quickly, and that's obviously the proposal that McConnell has presented.
What's quickly, a couple of weeks?
At most a couple of weeks, right? When you look at the time that they're allocating, this 24 hours that you were just mentioning for rebuttal and cross-examine and the trial itself for the Democratic side,
monetary policy.
They've stacked this,
it's
as you mentioned, in 2-day
tell me when that
increment,
changes,
right?
and until it's going to change.
First of all, the Senate's used to working at midnight, right? Virtually everything that gets done in the Senate gets done between midnight and 6 a.m. So that's not unusual. What's unusual is that even McConnell's early statements last month were, we're going to let this thing play out. It's going to take a couple of weeks. Well, he's presented a proposal time-wise that at most is going to be a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those amendments have close votes to lengthen the time that they can hear evidence and have the trial, because the reality is when you look at even what's in the Republican interest, if the trial goes the course that they think it's going to be, it's not that bad a news for them.
So let me just ask a similar question to you, David. Are there risks or opportunity for Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, and for the Democrats over on their side?
Absolutely. I think we're about to enter a realm of the unknown.
But now when you look at the market,
in contrast to the Clinton impeachment 20 years ago, when the facts were pretty much not in dispute, here we're entering a realm where the facts are fluid. We get new facts, it seems, or at least the implication that there are more facts every day.
So
one of the agendas, I think, for the majority leader, Senator McConnell, is to try to contain the damage, and that's why we're seeing, I think, this sort of rush to get this over with quickly. If you look at the trend lines, both in polling and if we had a metric for new allegations, that seems to be exacerbated with each passing day for the Republicans. So it's in their interest to try to contain the damage and make this over with quickly. I will note, there was a time when a lot of us thought that Speaker Pelosi would want this over quickly. The polling wasn't really showing a lot of support for impeachment. It didn't look like a good gambit politically for the Democrats. Let's just get this over with, get the candidates for president back on the trail. Look at how the positions have switched here. Now it seems as though Pelosi is vying for delay. She waited a month before sending the articles over. There's this notion that more facts should come in. We need a longer trial. Look, I mean, some people could accuse the Speaker of wanting to throw the presidential nomination to Joe Biden because she's taking all these senators off the field.
You wonder what the senators should be able to run for president.
I have their campaign managers.
Exactly right.
Why have they sitting in Washington? They need to be in Iowa right now. But time is going to introduce more uncertainty. I guess that's how I would sum it up.
Always true in any trial, by the way. Rick Davis and David Goodhart, they're going to be sticking with us, I'm delighted to say. And now it's time to get a check on the markets. Abigail Doolittle is in New York. So Abigail, normally say what's going on that might affect it. I'm not sure impeachment is, but maybe a coronavirus?
You are absolutely correct on both points, David. Not a lot of influence from the impeachment trial, but from that virus in China being described as a mysterious respiratory virus. We certainly do have a bit of a risk-off tone here in the U.S., less so than earlier. If you take a look at the S&P 500, just a fractional decline earlier, down a bit more, down about 0.4%. That is what we are seeing for the small cap Russell 2000. That's a growthier index. And we also have the transports down significantly, down 1.4%. So all of this, a macro uncertainty. But if the virus were to progress to a worst-case scenario, it could certainly affect the profit outlook for U.S. stocks. So that's why we're seeing a little bit of decline, especially for anything related to travel and tourism. And that was certainly true in the Asian session. The Shanghai Composite down 1.4%, its worst day in 2 months. In fact, anything related to China is lower on the day. Wind resorts, they receive about 75% of their revenue from Macau. So those shares are headed to the worst day since August. We also see United Airlines down significantly, Alibaba. So investors are getting rid of risk related to China, at least today. It'll be interesting to see whether or not cooler heads prevail tomorrow. But one bright spot, David, we can always find one if we try. Tesla, take a look at Tesla on the day. We do have shares popping higher, up 5.3%. One bull is really defending the shares. And all of this, David, as the stock, if you can believe it, the year is young, just about 3 weeks in. Tesla, David, is already up 30%. Those Tesla bulls, at least right now, in charge.
It actually is a little bit difficult to believe. Thank you so much to Abigail Doolittle in New York with that market check. And now we're going to turn to Mark Crumpton for Bloomberg First Word News.
David, as we have been reporting, President Trump sounded confident on the day his impeachment trial begins. The president's appearance at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland began with him calling the trial a hoax and disgraceful. In his speech, he lauded his economic achievements and said he is sure that, quote, the whole thing will work out fine. China is trying to ease concerns that the country's trade deal with the United States won't hurt rival exporting nations. Chinese Vice Premier Han Zheng told the World Economic Forum today that China's pledge to buy more from the U.S. won't squeeze out other imports.
accounts.
Han also pledged to lower barriers for foreign investors, saying, quote, China will open its door wider. Justin Trudeau's first order of business when Canada's Parliament returns next week will be ratifying the new North American Free Trade Agreement. Prime Minister says his government will start the formal parliamentary process on Monday. The deal has been passed in the U.S. Senate and is awaiting the president's signature. It's also been approved in Mexico. The U.S. Supreme Court says it won't rush to consider appeals defending Obamacare this year. That means the fate of the law will likely remain uncertain until after the 2020 presidential election. Justices today declined requests by the House and a coalition of Democratic-led states to speed up consideration of their petitions. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. I'm Mark Crumpton. This is Bloomberg. David, back to Washington.
Thanks so much, Mark. Coming up here, we're going to bring you more on the coverage of the formal opening of President Trump's impeachment trial in the Senate. This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and on radio.
So let me finish my thought.
Revisions, return policy.
Why book with Sunhat Villas? Take over 200 sea view spots, over 350 places at the heart of the destination. Over 400 villas, just a short walk to the beach, and even more countryside retreats. Add in 1 to 10 bedroom options, 19 years of experience, and 5-star reviews. And you'll find countless reasons to make Sunhat your number one. Search Sunhat Villas, app to protect it.
Welcome to Nuffield Health Battersea, a gym built around you. We get regular health MOTs to create a plan that works for you, with physios and personal trainers on site. You'll find a wide range of equipment and classes, and our expert team will support you to get the most out of your health, fitness, and your membership. Join today to get the rest of the month free. Search Nuffield Health, specialists in you. 12-month commitments only. Facilities stated are in most gyms. Visit nuffieldhealth.com/terms.
Welcome inside Rachel's mind. She's unsure if signal to the market that, hey, I got to get out.
Should we stay put or sell out? Wait,
counter to Tina, which I thought has been happening too. A lot of people, when they talk about Tina, they say,
relax, Rachel. Purple Bricks have sold more homes than any other estate agent for 2 years running.
Just as an example of a high-yielding creme de la creme energy play.
Independent sales data from 20CI, May 17, April 19. Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months viewing services cost extra.
Why let the thought of your tax return peck away at you? Certainly not working in that regard.
Part of my points by bringing up the soundbite and discussing this issue is for the trimming that's been going on.
Don't keep ducking it. Do your tax return by the 31st of January at gov.uk/self-assessment. And don't forget to pay what you owe.
Put it in XYZ ticker symbol.
This is not a cash.
I'll give you 3 names.
Not a rocket.
I'll give you 3 names.
I
would buy United Healthcare.
At Smarty Mobile, we're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30-gig data SIM for just £10 a month. With unlimited calls and texts and no speed restrictions, credit checks or contract time down. Why shop around? New plans, great value. Now that's Smarty. Grab yours today. Search Smarty Mobile. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
And in earnings season, you always get your chances. You always get your looks. You get overreactions. And that's where you want to do the jobs of buying the quality names that are actually on sale.
But Big Jazz event, where you can get 0% APR representative and 5 years complimentary servicing on all grades until the 31st of January. The Honda Jazz, the small car with a big offer. Visit your local dealer to find out more. Honda dealers are credit brokers, not lenders. Finance provided by Honda Finance Europe, authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Terms and conditions apply.
Fly with Cathay Pacific and arrive ready to make the most of the mesmerizing metropolis of Tokyo. Book now at cathaypacific.com. Cathay Pacific. Move beyond.
I'm turning, but I'm going to Schlumberger, I'm going to EOG, I'm going to United Health. I am adding to these positions that I think are undervalued. Financial, I have 20% of my book.
This is the sound of a Halifax customer who used to worry he wasn't saving enough, but is now saving the change every time he hops on a bus. Switch on Save the Change, and when you use your Halifax Visa debit card, we'll round up to the nearest pound. and put the difference into your chosen Halifax savings account.
5-6%. It's a great story. Macau
Got
recovery.
big plans for 2020.
Great management team. So
Capture
there
and
are
share
certainly
every
pockets. You're
highlight
gonna
on a
get your
gorgeous
chances.
iPhone 11 with an ultra-wide camera. In Tesco Mobile's big January sale, you can get the latest iPhone for £40.75 a month with double data. That's a mighty 20 gigs. Go in store or search Tesco Mobile. Tesco Mobile, every little helps.
Ends 26th of January was 10 gigs, now 20 gigs, 36-month credit and rolling monthly usage agreements with Tesco Mobile required. Subject to status phase, policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms. On a TUI tour, our English-speaking local guides will take you off the tourist trail. They won't just help you find the perfect souvenir, they'll show you how to make it. Choose from over 70 unforgettable tours worldwide. From tranquil temples in India to sunrise safaris in South Africa. On a TUI tour, we cross the T's, dot the I's, and put you in the middle. Book now and enjoy up to £200 off per booking. Booking T's and C's and minimum spend applies. Selected holidays only. At all protected.
We sell what's popular and gets to
Here at Tesco, we're celebrating over 100 years of great value, with even more great prices that take you back. Like a 6-pack of Mr. Kipling Angel Slices, now half price, £1.80 each, just 90p. All this week at Tesco.
Selected larger stores, subject to availability, offers 27th of January.
Chilly January days in London are tough enough without a broken boiler. Keep your home warm and working this winter with 2 years interest-free credit and your boiler installed by one of our expert engineers. Plus, you'll get a 5-year British Gas warranty. And we can even quote by video call after work or on weekends. Get a quote by the 29th of February, and you can also get £200 off a new boiler or £400 off for our existing home care customers. Search British Gas New Boiler.
That over the past 30 years, the average age of the car on the road
a political exercise.
Up more than 50%.
The difference between the Clinton years, because I was sitting at my desk in the West Wing pretending to be distracted by real work when the television was actually covering the impeachment. And there it seemed as though the political theory among the Republican majority of the Senate was, we need Democrats to vote with us in order to secure a conviction. And there was a lot of wooing of the Democrats by the Republican leadership. Look at how Daschle and Lott worked together. Look at how 100 senators voted in favor of the rules, sending shockwaves through the Clinton White House. The fact is, today, the Republicans don't need a single Democratic vote to get what they want. There's no effort to even try to look like they're appeasing or winning over Democrats, because they figured they're not going to get any of those votes anyway. And I think reason is out the window. Right now, it's completely a numbers exercise, and if there's no incentive for the Republican leadership to try to get some bipartisanship, they're not going to try.
It's not even a numbers exercise, David. I think you're right about the change in the culture that existed when the Clinton impeachment trial started and what's happening today. It's a political exercise. It's not even numbers. I mean, this was a foregone conclusion the day the process began in the House. Why didn't Nancy Pelosi and the House prosecutors call the witnesses that they're now demanding that the Senate call? Because they had their own agenda. They had a rushed judgment. They wanted to get to a finish line as quick as they could to make this a part of the sort of beginning of this year narrative politically. And there was never a single Republican senator who did anything other than say, I don't see a crime here. Right? There was never this kind of outreach by the Democrats to bring and woo Republicans over to their side. There's never been an effort in the House to include Republicans in the process. In fact, they were ostensibly excluded from the process. We don't need your votes to do what we're going to do, so we're just going to do it. So I think that even though there was a lot of polarization in the Clinton era, there's a significantly more amount of polarization today, and you're seeing a dramatic display of that by basically having a impeachment hearing in the House and a trial in the Senate that by anybody's judgment is a foregone conclusion. 2 weeks from now, we'll be checking the box and moving to New Hampshire.
No, on that note, I have to ask my friend, my Republican friend Rick here, a question. It seems to me as though we have a couple of canaries in the coal mine to determine whether or not there's going to be an actual shift in this pattern that you've laid out. Corey Gardner from Colorado, a purple state, a tough re-election fight. He's up against a popular former governor, John Hickenlooper. He has to make a calculation that it's more important for him to stay with the Republican leadership than it is to follow the polls in Colorado. If he looks like he's going soft, like he's going to, the questions that we asked by the Chief Justice and we have the senators, if we hear some Corey Gardner questions that sound pretty incisive, then we can assume assume that there's going to be a little bit of a shift here. Maybe there are a few Republicans who fall. Susan Collins might fall in that category. Otherwise, I think everything else holds.
David, that's a great cliffhanger. We're going to hold on to that and come back to Rick Davis in a minute. Susan Lovelock, Rick Davis, and David Gertrude are all sticking with us so that Rick can answer David's question. We're going to have more coverage of the formal opening of President Trump's impeachment trial in the Senate. This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and on radio.
It's kind of in that same category of company where there's a tremendous investment going on to build the customer base.
Please don't have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Full breakfast, cup of coffee, whatever you have in the morning, have it at daybreak.
Event risk is taking center stage for traders.
Nathan Hager will get a policy decision from the Federal Reserve and Karen Moscow.
It is the 5th major industry player to make some sort of zero commission offer.
Bloomberg Daybreak.
Bloomberg has more from Hong Kong.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
And the discipline that's coming to a lot of the Permian producers now, where they're staying within their cash flow budgets.
This is Balance Bar on Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'm David Weston, and we still are here with our panel of Rick Davis, Bloomberg contributor, former campaign manager for Senator John McCain's presidential campaign, David Goodfriend, former deputy staff secretary to President Bill Clinton, and Susan Lovelock, who's professor at Georgetown Law Center. So, Susan, I want to ask you the question, given the way the Trump White House is responding to charges, did the Democrats make a tactical error in not charging a crime? Because that's one of the things they're saying is, what you're saying, you have not charged President Trump with a crime.
Well, I think that what the Constitution says is treason, bribery are their high crimes and misdemeanors. And when you're talking about what's an impeachable offense, then abuse of office is a presidential crime. Yes, it's not in the federal statutes because only the president can do it, but it is a constitutional crime. So I don't think it's a mistake.
Established by historians, but it seems like the Trump White House is arguing the reverse of that. That basically, no, it's not.
They're wrong.
This is a matter of fact.
Foregone conclusion. Guess what? Trial starts in about 20 minutes, and regardless of whether it's a crime or not, they got to have a trial.
Rick, one of my questions to you is there a danger for the Republicans to come across as condoning what the president did? And say, you know what, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's fine for the president to call a foreign head of state and say, please help me in my election.
It's almost impossible to know the political ramifications of impeachment. Republicans thought they had a real winner with Bill Clinton impeaching him, and it turned out to be a disaster for the Republican Party. And they paid a price for it politically for almost a decade. And so it would be something I would be worried about if I was a Democrat, right? I mean, like, here we are in exactly the same position that the Republicans were with Clinton, and it was a disaster for them. Why do I think this is going to work out well for me, especially considering the odds are that President Trump walks away from this virtually a winner, right? His strategy and theory of I'm a winner, and he's going to be able to mark up another I'm a winner task. And so guys like Cory Gardner and Susan Collins and people who are up for election this cycle, it's very hard to pull, like, will people vote for me more if I vote for this amendment that lengthens the trial? I mean, it's just almost impossible to know. So there's a lot of political gut checks on how will my conduct during the trial affect my re-election.
I think it's wrong for us to look at this in terms of how does it play out politically for any individual. I think that if you can agree that the behavior using the office of the presidency for personal gain to help him in re-election
and ignite your
is
spirit of adventure.
And if the House, I think the House thought if they didn't impeach and have a trial, that future presidents, including perhaps Trump, would continue to do this. So I don't think they did a political calculus. I think it was actually on the merits of the law.
I tend to agree with that, actually, because there was at the time the notion that impeachment would be harmful to Democrats. Speaker Pelosi was clearly trying to avoid.
I used to be a bit of a rubbish sleeper,
but it felt from her own caucus enough pressure that we have to do something, or else we look like we've been asleep at the switch. So I do think there was a decision that was apolitical or anti-political at that
testing
moment.
mattresses
However,
in a witch test lab.
we can't argue with the fact that Bill Clinton at the time of impeachment was politically popular,
and the mattresses that perform best
whereas
are the
Donald
only
Trump,
ones
at
we
least
recommend
outside
for
of
your
his base,
bedroom.
is politically less popular. I wouldn't even go so far as to say unpopular. Even if you take the approach that this is a political exercise, it's apples and oranges. Taking out a popular president is much different than taking out an unpopular
I would say,
president.
though, Trump would look at this as a way to try and reinforce his base. He doesn't see this as an unpopular
No question about that. Okay, many thanks to Susan Loeblock, professor at Georgetown Law Center, and Rick Davis and David Griffin, who will be staying with us. This is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and on radio.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Starbucks is looking into meat alternatives to boost its sales of breakfast items, and that's caught the attention of Beyond Meat investors. Beyond is up more than 12.5%. Major restaurants have raced to include faux meat as consumers are ordering more plant-based products that look and taste like real meat. More than half of corporate CEOs surveyed by PricewaterhouseCoopers thinks global growth will slow down this year. The biggest concerns are over regulation, trade conflicts, and uncertain economic growth. And on Wall Street, concerns about a deadly virus in Asia spreading is taking a toll on global markets. Luxury retailers could be hit, and airlines and travel companies are some of today's biggest losers. The Dow is down 24 points, S&P falling 1, but the Nasdaq is up 2 points. Donna Wilson, Bloomberg Radio.
Variable discount.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients, and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesman to the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Have you ever thought, I wish I'd had that information sooner?
What does this tell us about the state of deal making?
Let's fix that.
One unprofitable company plus another doesn't make a profitable company. Talk to us about real-world applications.
Jason Kelly.
Remind us what the potential is for everyday folks.
Bloomberg Business Week.
Vice President of Exploratory Science is one of the cooler titles.
Weekday afternoons at 2 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg Business Week, now live on YouTube.
The market celebrated Netflix as the king of a perceived winner-take-all winner-take-most global market.
From Washington, this is Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'm David Weston. In just 30 minutes from right now, President Trump's impeachment trial will formally begin in the Senate. Chief Justice John Roberts will gavel in the trial. The Senate will then consider the rules for the trial and proposals for amendments to those rules, or at least what the Republicans have proposed. Well, much more coming up with our panel in just a moment. In the meantime, let's go first for Bloomberg First Word News to Mark Crumpton in New York.
David, President Trump says he's planning a middle-class tax cut in the next budget. The president also told Dow Jones he threatened a 100% tariff on French wines if France didn't back off its internet tax. He also says he's serious about imposing tariffs on European cars if necessary. Senator Elizabeth Warren is outlining steps she'd take as president to investigate Trump administration officials. The Democratic candidate is accusing the president of leading, quote, the most corrupt administration in history. She says she directed Justice Department to establish a task force that would investigate whether any Trump officials violated federal law. Warren has vowed to tackle corruption in Washington if she is elected. The United States and Taliban leaders are close to reaching a peace deal. Bloomberg has learned that an agreement would see the eventual withdrawal of foreign troops from Afghanistan and end to the 18-year-long conflict. Renewed talks are underway in the Qatari capital of Doha. It's the second time in recent months the two sides have appeared close to announcing an agreement. In September, President Trump called off talks after a suicide bombing in Kabul killed an American soldier. Russia's chief OPEC negotiator is keeping his job. The Kremlin says President Vladimir Putin has decided that Alexander Novak will remain energy minister in the new Russian government. He's held the post since 2012. Novak has represented Russia in talks with OPEC and helped forge an historic cooperation agreement between OPEC and non-OPEC states to cut production and lift prices. Global news 24 hours a day on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. I'm Mark Crumpton. This is Bloomberg. David, back to you in Washington.
Thanks so much, Mark. As the Senate prepares to begin the impeachment trial against President Trump, the issue of Ukraine and a former associate of the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, looms over the proceedings. Here to discuss is Mark Wadhams. He's Bloomberg's foreign policy reporter. Rick Davis, Bloomberg contributor and former campaign manager for Senator John McCain's presidential campaign. David Goodfriend, former deputy staff secretary to President Bill Clinton. And Susan LeBlanc, professor at Georgetown Law Center, are all with us. I'll take a breath now. And now let's go to Nick Wadhams. So Nick, bring us up to date on Lev Parnas and what's going on in Ukraine. We forget actually what brought us here. It all had to do with Ukraine and their resisting Russian attempts to really move into their country.
That's right. I mean, there are a couple big questions that are still sort of hanging over the impeachment process as we move to the Senate. And the big one is there a real smoking gun that would definitively prove that the president himself ordered Rudy Giuliani to work this back channel with Ukraine and to try to essentially extract a promise to investigate sort of a theory about Ukraine's alleged role in the 2016 election and also investigate Joe Biden's son. To what degree was the president actually directing that, and to what degree?
Since June of 2018 that reflects that, and the worst is past. Again, I'm not telling you that that's the case. I read a note today from Goldman Sachs that raised the price target from 400 to 450. So the analysis on Netflix is very diverse. It's either very bearish or very bullish. I think it's a wait and see type of mentality, but I'll tell you, sentiment is not as bearish as it was just 6 months ago. I think that sets up where it raises the expectations.
You bought a smart TV 3 years ago. There's a good chance by certain manufacturers there was literally a Netflix button on the remote. If you buy a smart TV, if you bought one for Christmas this year, every one of the competitors to Netflix as an app is now preloaded on the home screen, including Disney Plus. So the game is not theirs anymore, over-the-top streaming, to the point where it was even just 3 years ago. I think things have advanced that rapidly.
This is the central question. Is the worst over yet, or is the worst yet to come? And if the worst is not over, they can't make the move that they made 18 months ago, which was to raise prices. That's not going to work anymore.
Well, they're discounting internationally, 50% in India.
They could still do great, by the way, and the multiple could shrink. Like, they could still have a great 2020 fundamentally, but investors might go, it's good.
It's not enough.
Will Michael Pachter finally have his moment?
No, probably not. Sorry,
that's
Michael.
what I'm thinking about today. Okay. Let's talk about a couple of other things that Greenlight's doing that I thought were interesting, and I just wanted your takes on them. Long gold, okay? Gold had a huge move last year, one of the best moves in several years, and the other is his short on credit. Interesting because it's both investment grade and junk, and high yield.
Oh, well, I think the high yield, a lot of that plays into the energy conversation, and going back.
playing field with the House Democrats, and will finally be able to present the president's case.
And payment information over Wi-Fi.
Finally,
help keep your
some
online
fairness.
activity private with Norton 360. It gives you multiple layers of protection, including secure VPN with bank-grade encryption, device security, password manager, and PC cloud backup. Go to uk.norton.com to get all-in-one protection starting at $24.99 for your first year. Terms apply. That's uk.norton.com.
Because you could be dead right on the fundamentals of sub-investment grade credit deteriorating. Sized equity longs they added to in fourth. I have a losing money take on it.
Me too.
All right. Well, we'll move on. Keep your questions coming to us as well, because we're going to answer them coming up in Ask Halftime. That's straight ahead. To reach us, go to cnbc.com/halftime. You can tweet us as well. And as a reminder, you can always watch or listen to us on the go live on the CNBC app. We're back right after this.
You met on an app. Delete it.
Take the helm and ignite your spirit of adventure with a Sunsail holiday. Relax on a skippered yacht from sunny St. Lucia to the nutmeg-scented shores of Grenada. Or take charge with a bareboat charter along Dubrovnik's glittering coastline. With up to 20% off selected destinations, now is the time to book your Sunsail adventure. Sunsail. See the world differently.
At the Bank of Santander, they've created Stan, a smart bot that can predict the future of remortgaging.
All right, Stan, will my mortgage rate go up?
1955 was the last time Newcastle won the cup.
No, try not to mumble.
Playing, let's get ready to rumble.
Oh.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they can't predict your future, but they'll help secure it with great mortgage rates fixed for up to 10 years. See what's possible at Santander.
Early repayment charges apply. Lending subject to status and criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are, or what time of day, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
And it's so simple, you can install it yourself in minutes. See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. Available at ring.com and selected retailers.
Welcome aboard Europe's 169th safest airline.
You were like my 169th biggest crush in school.
Your total body age is 169.
The number 169 never screamed glamour until now. Get the Toyota Aygo X-Play for only £169 deposit, then £169 a month with 0% APR representative. Just go. Aygo.
0% APR representative on new sales of Aygo X-Play over 48 months. £169 per month. Customer deposit of £169 when proposed and approved via Access Toyota by 31st of March 2020. £3,311.25p optional final payment. Subject to status to over 18s. Indemnities may be required. Conditions apply. Toyota Financial Services.
The Sky Broadband sale ends soon. Get a massive 30% off superfast broadband and anytime calls. It's now just £25 a month for 18 months. So you can stream, share, play or tweet in the living room, bedroom, hey, any room you like. It's usually £37 a month, but now it's just £25 a month for 18 months plus $19.95 setup. So what are you waiting for? Offer ends 6th of Feb. Visit sky.com today. Sky Fibre network areas. Speeds vary by location. Prices may change during contract. Terms apply.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Sue Herrera. Here's your CNBC News update at this hour. A new virus that originated in China has now killed 6 people there and infected hundreds more. All of the deaths from the coronavirus have been in Wuhan, China. In Malaysia, health officials there have stepped up surveillance at international entry points.
We continue to keep on alert because there's a risk of human-to-human transmission, and it's obvious that it's no more restricted to Wuhan, but it has transmitted to other parts of China and also other parts of the world.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and a congressional delegation paying a visit to the site of the former Nazi German death camp of Auschwitz in Poland. The visit comes ahead of the 75th anniversary of its liberation by Soviet troops. Tesla is disputing customer claims that its vehicles can suddenly accelerate on their own. Company officials say the more than 100 complaints are completely false. It says it has discussed the majority of those complaints with the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration. You are up to date. That's the news update. Scott, back to you.
All right, Sue, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, a bullish call on Intel is ahead of its earnings later this week. The desk is going to debate that next on The Half. Jim Leventhal giving me a stare down already.
I'm just admiring the work you do as you admire my work.
When?
We made USAA insurance.
At Asda, our baby event is now on. A 47-pack of Pampers Premium Protection size 3 nappies was £7, now £4.25. And a 12-pack of sensitive wipes was £10, now £7. Big baby brands, tiny prices. Don't compromise. Asda, save money, live better. Selected stores and lines subject to availability.
Keys. Check. Phone. Check. 70s playlist downloaded. Check. Nice. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new cycleway under construction between Kensington Olympia and Brentford Town Centre, so expect delays due to lane closures at the junction of Kew Bridge Road and Chiswick High Road. Plan ahead at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are or what time of day, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery.
Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please?
Sure, no problem.
And it's so simple, you can install it yourself in minutes. See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. Available at ring.com and selected retailers.
This is a live message from the Survivalist Network. There are reports of an impending zombie apocalypse reaching London. But don't panic. Our intel shows that for £199 a month with 0% APR representative, you can locally access the Toyota Hilux Invincible, the only vehicle with the build strength to withstand savage hordes of the undead. Once inside your Toyota Hilux, stay on this frequency for updates. You'll be fine.
0% APR representative on new sales of Hilux Invincible over 42 months. £199 per month. Customer deposit of £10,246 when financed through Access Toyota by 31st of March 2020. £12,525 optional final payment. Subject status to over 18s. Indemnities may be required. Conditions apply. Toyota Financial Services.
The Sky Broadband sale ends soon. Get a massive 30% off superfast broadband and anytime calls. It's now just £25 a month for 18 months. So you can stream, share, play or tweet in the living room, bedroom, hey, any room you like. It's usually £37 a month, but now it's just £25 a month for 18 months plus $19.95 setup. So what are you waiting for? Offer ends 6th of Feb. Visit sky.com today. Sky Fibre network areas. Speeds vary by location. Prices may change during contract. Terms apply.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Sullivan, and here's what's coming up on the exchange. We're going to have more on two market titans sounding the alarm for you, the investor. Are stocks overvalued? We're going to pick up the debate from halftime. Plus, a 6-week winning streak, a 22% rally this month, and hovering near all-time highs. The name and whether you should buy this piping hot stock right now. And digital publishing is doing something it has not done since ever. We'll tell you what that is and more ahead on the exchange. Scott, the gang, back to you.
All right, Solly, we'll see you in just a bit. Thank you so much for that. All right, Intel upgraded today, taken off outperform at Jefferies, naming 3 catalysts that set the table for a dramatic change in 2020. Price target gets bumped up as well to 64 from 40. Farmer Jim was literally, when I was reading the tease that we were going to talk about it,
salivating.
I mean, it was a stare down. It was like, I can't wait for this segment. All right, Farmer.
I thought we were going to it back
Grab
there.
your pitchfork. Here we are.
Yeah, well,
Here we are.
I'll
He's
tell
a
you what.
silicon farmer.
This analyst has a pitchfork out for Intel. I don't care about the upgrade. I mean, he was holding his nose and taking Dramamine at the same time. He sees down revenues, down earnings this year, and yet upgrades the stock, albeit only to a hold. He clearly does not like the stock. He notes their operational missteps. He has questions with leadership changes. He has questions with leadership compensation, for that matter. Here's the thing. All of that is in the rearview mirror. If you're looking at Intel right now, you're really looking at this as a macro play of global GDP picking up. They're one of the biggest semiconductor manufacturers out there. They get the economies of scale. And look, they've just broken out to a multi-year high.
Okay, let me ask you a question, okay? Because I think you mischaracterized the analyst a little bit, okay? Did they have a share loss? Did they lose share?
They did.
Okay, check.
I said,
did they have, hold on. Did they have a transition disaster?
They did.
Check.
It stunk.
Up. Did they have a change in management?
Did I not say this was all in the
did they have a change in management?
Yes, I said it all happened.
Okay.
Past tense.
Okay. The analyst says, quote, share loss, a transition disaster, changing a management guard, a CEO bonus that inflects with the stock in the low 60s, tells us that, pay attention to this part, the table is set for change in Intel. This is an analyst who agrees with you. Not that's wrong. He agrees that all this
the numbers,
garbage is in the rear view mirror and now is able to look ahead and say blue skies are ahead.
Look, I can't take what you're saying and juxtapose that with down revenue and down earnings this year. And down big. I mean, well below street consensus. Way, way, way below street consensus on both of those. And say that this analyst is excited about this stock. This is a throw in the towel report. All right, he was at $40. The stock is at $60. He's throwing in the towel and grudgingly takes it to 64.
Well, how could you be excited about something that's underperformed the market and has gotten left behind by some of the other sexier tech stories?
Good question. Thank you for that setup. Because if you're a long-time investor in Intel, you know this is a stair-step pattern. It's been nowhere for a year and a half. That is its pattern. It consolidates. Before that, it was up about 75% in about 2 years. It's now breaking out and setting up for the next leg higher. This stock moves in multi-year stair-step patterns. This is the time to be owning it. Can't look in the rearview mirror. It's not a good way to invest.
Definitely.
Well, I think this analyst actually is very good, but he did only go to a hold because the manufacturing problems are real, and they are going to lose share, a lot of it, and continue to lose.
Normally, we don't do calls of the day that are a hold,
right.
But the mere fact that it was from a sell, essentially, to a hold is like, okay, but there's belief.
Yeah.
Jimmy has.
You know what I've learned over the years is that a lot of the times when analysts goes from a sell to a hold, they don't necessarily have to go to a buy, but there's something that changed that got them to stop being so negative. So I actually think this is a really bold call for him. He might be right, but the manufacturing issues are going to take time. So that's the reason why I think there's other semiconductor names that I like. I much prefer Lam Research. I much prefer Broadcom, which is trading at the same multiple, by the way, and it's lagged just as much as Intel. So I think you could pick and choose within the semi space. This one, I get the call.
I'll give you a second to rebut that if you need to, but Suraj, you prefer others as well?
I do, but and I don't own Intel, but I can see what Jim's saying. He's a value guy. So when you look at the semis have all run, and they've run really fast. So,
Are you a value guy? How are you not a value guy?
I'm a value.
You told me at the beginning of the show you were taking this money out of some of your winners and putting it into value.
I do like.
Did you not tell me that?
But I also
did he say that?
I did say that. I did say it. But there's also value in Qualcomm right now. So I like that stock. But I can see why he likes Intel, because if the whole semi space comes back up and Intel is kind of where it should be, the stock can run faster than the others. I'm defending him.
I just want everyone to have fun.
We are. I like that conversation. All right. Ask Halftime is up next. Your questions on Wells Fargo, on Cisco, on Visa, and more in 2 minutes.
Take the helm and ignite your spirit of adventure with a Sunsail holiday. Relax on a skippered yacht from sunny St. Lucia to the nutmeg-scented shores of Grenada. Or take charge with a bareboat charter along Dubrovnik's glittering coastline. With up to 20% off selected destinations, now is the time to book your Sunsail adventure. Sunsail. See the world differently.
Boredom. Fitness enemy number one. So don't just run. 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 Mix it up. Skip. Run. Skip. Run. Give yourself a lift. Mix it up. Lift. Mix it up. Run. Lift. Splash. Skip. Lift. Run. It's crunch time. Skip. Mix it up. Run. Mix it. Add a boxing class. Skip. Run. Splash. Skip. Run. Mix it up at Virgin Active and get stronger, fitter, faster. Join now for 12 months and pay nothing until March. T's and C's apply. Run. Mix it up. Skip. Mix it. Run.
Mix it. Let's get this right, sir. You didn't see three men dressed as clowns take off in a van with a Renaissance painting because you were distracted by, and I quote, a sporty red compact SUV with a bold mesh grille, a sculpted bonnet with sweeping roofline on diamond-cut alloys.
And beautiful rear haunches.
So, you saw a Jaguar E-Pace. But what about the clowns?
What clowns?
Jaguar E-Pace, designed to steal attention. Search Jaguar E-Pace.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, keep me out the cold jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, East London jobs, West London jobs, extra hour in bed jobs, startup jobs, late start jobs, get home in the daylight jobs, banking jobs, building jobs, flexible working on a Friday jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
Hello, I'm here at the Race for Life Pretty Muddy with Great Britain's Jayanti Kaur. Jayanti, do you have a message for the millions tuned in at home?
What are you talking about? Millions of people aren't tuning in to witness me doing a muddy obstacle course.
Well, they absolutely should, Jayanti. You're a remarkable athlete.
I'm a geography teacher.
We're not athletes, we're cancer beaters. Sign up to Race for Life now and get 30% off entry until the 31st of January in partnership with Tesco.
All right, we're back. Let's do some questions, okay? You guys ready? All right, Mike, in New York City for Joe, is the GDX a buy, sell, or a hold?
The GDX is a buy. I bought it on October 23rd of last year. The reasons are simple. Number one, it's a technical breakout. Number two, it's a replacement in commodity indexes for the failures of oil. I want you to also think about two things. I want you to think about palladium. What palladium has done in the precious metal space, PALL, is the ETF there. It's gone parabolic. And now you've got platinum, ticker symbol PPLT, ETF. It's about to have the same breakout above $1,000 that gold had in 2019.
Okay. For Stephanie Link, Rob in London, Canada. Good hockey place, right, Joe?
Oh, sure.
London, Ontario?
Yep.
All right.
London Knights.
That's right. Wells Fargo.
There you go.
How far would you expect Wells Fargo to fall before it bottoms?
Well, I hope it doesn't go down. I own it. It hasn't done anything in a year. It trades at 12 times forward, 4% yield, and it's a turnaround story with a new CEO. Their efficiency ratio is 78%. It is crazy high. Their goal is 60%. Even if they got to 70%, there's operating leverage there. Very hated stock. I like it.
All right. Thomas Pilla has a question for Josh. Visa. Okay, maybe last year's news, but up That's up $23 this year, trimmed at 184. What's up? Should I buy back? Should I buy it back or just hold?
Well, it's more than last year's news. This is one of the best stocks in the history of the stock market. It's up 950% in 10 years versus the S&P 250. So, you're not discovering anything new. If you buy it, it's starting to form what I call an Empire State Building pattern on the chart. It's literally gone vertical this year. But this stock's been going up for a decade, way ahead of whatever the growth is. It's a forward earnings multiple of 33. So you're buying a momentum stock, pure and simple. It's fine. Just don't talk yourself into you're buying something cheap or undiscovered.
Okay.
You're not.
Jimmy from Tara in Boston, Massachusetts. Where do you stand on Viacom CBS? It's been your final trade over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Hey, I'm reading the question.
I added 5 overs.
I was 2 overs. Calm down, Scott. It's only Tuesday, right?
CBS,
Yeah, listen, look, this is a takeover candidate, in my opinion. You look at the last 3 takeovers, Disney buying 21st Century Fox, Comcast buying NBC, and Time Warner being bought by AT&T. All of them went for mid-teen multiples. The stock is trading at a 7x multiple.
Just drop an F-bomb?
I think he accidentally left off the X.
Is it just me?
20th Century Fox.
Okay. Surat, lastly to you.
Okay.
Watch your words carefully. Okay?
Comedy now.
Gary in Bainbridge Island, Washington. Cisco's been flat since August. Is it a buy, sell, or hold?
It's a hold at this point. I think you have to wait to see what the earnings are going to come out. You've got to have a couple of catalysts. I don't want to buy right now.
Okay. Final trades are next.
Boredom, fitness enemy number 1. So don't just run. Mix it up, skip, run, give yourself a lift, mix it up, lift, mix it up, run, lift, splash, skip, lift, run. It's crunch time, skip, mix it up, run, mix it out of boxing class, skip, run, splash, skip, run. Mix it up at Virgin Active and get stronger, fitter, faster. Join now for 12 months and pay nothing until March. T's and C's apply. Run, mix it up, skip, mix it, run. Mix it.
I used to be a bit of a rubbish sleeper. I'd toss and turn all night. And somehow I could never find the comfy bit of the mattress. It was a proper nightmare. That's what brought me here. Testing mattresses in the Which Test Lab. We use a custom-made barrel rolling machine to simulate a decade's worth of use. And the mattresses that perform best are the only ones we recommend for your bedroom.
Which tests harder so you can buy smarter. Visit which.co.uk.
Keys. Check. Phone. Check. 70s playlist downloaded. Check. Nice. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new cycleway under construction between Kensington Olympia and Brentford Town Centre, so expect delays due to lane closures at the junction of Kew Bridge Road and Chiswick High Road. Plan ahead at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Do you go on the same holiday every year? To the same country, in the same hotel, with the same sea view, visit the same ancient monuments, lay by the same dolphin-shaped pool, meet the same Barrys and Sandras, and wear the same Hawaiian shirt that you'd never wear at home? Then maybe it's time to switch it up, starting with the all-new Vauxhall Corsa, with its bold styling and up to 70 miles per gallon. To switch it up, visit your local Vauxhall dealership or search New Corsa. Official WLTP test figures for comparison purposes only. Real-world figures may vary.
All right, it's time for final trades. Jimmy, making a name for yourself today? What do you got for us?
First day of the week.
Don't pick letter F, Ford.
Intel, look, they're going to report on Thursday. You know how I feel about it. It's breaking out from a 1.5-year doldrums.
Okay, thank you for that. Surat Sethi.
Delta. Delta's down because of what's going on, I think, in China. This is a good opportunity to buy a high-quality transportation. Could go down even more, but pay attention to this one.
Josh Brown.
I bought Uber when they threw it out with the bathwater in December, staying long this idea.
All right, interesting. Stocks, what a gain today, 6%. Joey.
Keysight Technology, 5G play, enterprise space.
Last but certainly not least, Stephanie Link.
Johnson & Johnson, 14 times earnings, a great pharma pipeline, great management.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. The Exchange begins right now.
Thank you, Scott. And yes, it does. And welcome to the exchange, everybody. I am Brian Sullivan. Two market gurus sounding the alarm on one market metric. We'll take a look at what it is and if they're right about it. The competition is growing, and Netflix starting to feel the pressure. What to expect in tonight's earnings, and if Netflix should give in and finally embrace the ad model. Plus, a piping hot stock, luxury losing some of its luster, and Boeing needs more cash. That is all ahead. But we begin with today's markets. Seema Modi here with the numbers. Seema.
Hey, Brian, what I would point out is that we're already off the lows of the session. We were down about 112 at the lows, currently down 27 for the Dow. Take a look at the NASDAQ. We're actually back in positive territory at 93.89. Now, of course, the sector in high focus at this hour, travel and leisure, those concerns around the coronavirus in China spreading to other Asian countries and the possible impact that could have on tourism bookings, especially after China this morning said that the virus can be spread through human contact. Now, of the three cruise lines, SunTrust analysts say that Royal Caribbean has the most exposure to China with its customized sailings. That stock currently down over 3%. Travel-related names in China also under pressure as millions of people in China prepare to travel either home or across Asia to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Air China down 3%, Ctrip down nearly 10%. Guys, back to you.
All right, Seema, thank you very much. Well, the Federal Reserve is getting drawn into a battle between those who want more rate cuts, if they're even possible, and those who want the central bank to save its ammo for a rainy day. Here's what the president's top economic advisor and a legendary hedge fund manager both said at the World Economic Forum in Davos today.
I'm looking for faster growth. I think we're going to get 3 this year. The trade deals will help the Fed change policy. That was very, very important.
If you get a downturn, and there's a good probability in the next term you'll get a downturn, and you don't have effective monetary policy, and you have people at each other's throats.
All right, let's talk more now about this, along with the political wild cards that are dangling out there right now with Dan Clifton, head of policy research at Strategas Research Partners. So what do you think, Dan? Are you on the side that the Fed has simply shot the arrows out of its quiver? And if that sort of dragon of a slowdown comes out, it's going to be helpless and we're going to be helpless?
Well, I look at it a little bit differently, Brian. I look at it as the fact that the trade war tightened financial conditions that forced the Fed to have to act in 2019. They cut rates 3 times. They raised their balance sheet by $400 billion. By doing that, did they take away some of their arrows in the quiver? Absolutely. But what we see is that monetary policy has about a 6 to 9 month lag. I think the Fed expects that maximum hit to really hit right around the second quarter of 2020. And if my good friend Larry Kudlow is right, you should see growth accelerate. The trade deals have reduced some of that uncertainty. And then eventually the Fed can get back to normalization sometime in 2021. But I really don't believe the Fed is going to have to act decisively further to the downside, meaning more interest rate cuts. And so they should be on hold this year and growth should accelerate. And that should give them a little bit of time to build up some resources for that downturn.
The Fed sounds and clearly seems like it's frustrated, Dan. I mean, it's got that foot on the gas pedal. It's like driving my old Jeep. No matter how hard I hit the gas pedal, it's not